COVID-19 originated in animals sold in a so-called wet market in China.
All steps for man, scientists for mankind.
Oh man, every single one of those you just saw in that clip is interesting to me. I could rabbit hole down all of them because I'm so curious about the things that I know and the things that I think. And the purpose of this exercise we're doing here with Conspiracy Conversations is to start separating the things I know. I know my phone number. I know my wife's favorite flower. There's a lot of things that I know. I don't have to look up. I don't got to Google. I don't got to get a second opinion. I know it. There's other things that I think because I've heard about them. Places I've not been to. People told me what it's like there. There's foods I've not tried yet in life, but I got an opinion on it because it was in a movie or somebody referenced. Those are things that I think. And so in this space, what we're trying to do today is just exercise a muscle each and every week. We're having a conversation with somebody who has spent countless hours studying a topic, becoming an expert on a thing, written a book on something, things that maybe you think you know or you've heard about. Well, they've dedicated their life to that thing. I bring them on here to hear them out. Each week might be a little different. I might have somebody on one week that disagrees with somebody on the week before. But you know what's kind of cool? As humans, we do have the ability to choose what we're listening to and thinking of. We're not animals. We're not dogs. We're not trees. We can take an idea, use the shopping cart method, walking through a grocery store. I like this. I like that. I can use this. I don't need this right now. And then leave and actually entertain ideas that might conflict with what you think you know about something. And I just love it. I use this example every single time, and I'll probably always do that, but it's easy to spend your whole life thinking you know all about Rubik's Cubes because you know that they're red. And it's not that you're wrong, because it is. But every once in a while, you know, you've come across somebody that just has been somewhere different, has done something a little different, has overcome something maybe different, and they just take your Rubik's Cube and go like, what? And you're like, oh my gosh, Rubik's Cubes are red and white. Now I've got it all figured out. And, you know, I think the challenge life is spending our life learning and growing. And hopefully on the last day, you take your last breath, you learn one new thing, and that would be a treat. Now, we have somebody today that is low-hanging fruit when it comes to learning from. He has the answers to everything. So much so, he's the only person I've ever talked to that'll actually bet you up to 3 Bitcoin if you can prove him wrong. Now, I've got relatives. I got a lot of people that think they're right about everything, but they don't back it up at all. Today's guest does, and I enjoy talking with him. This is our second conversation that we've had, and he's none other than the one, the only Mr. Dave Weiss.
Dave, what an opening. I have two comments on that. One, I don't know everything. I know a lot, and I also know that I don't know some things. So at least I know that, right? And the other thing is, a lot of people say, you know, I've looked into flat earth. I've done the research. It's not flat because they've done some research. They've got an opinion. They've made a foregone conclusion, or somebody they trust told them, and they did that. Secretly, your wife told me that her favorite flower is dandelions, but she's afraid to tell you because you would disrespect her. So she's telling you that her favorite flower is whatever she told you. So there is that's not a knowing. You have a fairly strong belief, but you don't know for sure that her favorite flower is.
I've been buying her tulips for 30 years, and it's panned out really well. So even if I'm wrong, it's working because it overcomes a lot of my flaws.
Yeah. She likes the tulips, but she really likes dandelions, but she's afraid to tell you. Okay.
Man, well, hey, I love having you on. I got questions on this, and hopefully, you know, listeners, just join me for these next few minutes, and I've got cards. I'm taking notes. I got more space to take notes than I do for even questions to ask. Dave has an incredible teaching technique with green screen, and he brings the receipts on things he talks about. It's not theoretical. He's not, hey, I'll tell you what's inside this cup, but you can't drink it or taste it. He actually shows a lot of science, and so it's very educational. He's like the teacher you wish you would have had when you were sleeping in middle school and high school or disengaged on a topic, because he's so passionate about the things he has to talk about. And I guess, Dave, let's just start real quick out of the gate with where a lot of people are on this topic. You did not grow up as a child sitting around the dinner table with your family talking about cosmology, talking about the shape of the earth and what it was doing. You kind of had the same path as everybody. Went to school. There's a globe. Probably didn't question it, you know. And we've talked about this before, but you had a journey just like everybody else.
Absolutely. I grew up like everyone else. We live on a spinning ball. Of course, we live on a spinning ball. Boats go over the horizon. I could see them disappear from the bottom up. Sunsets, time zones, seasons, right? All of this stuff makes perfect sense because that's what we were indoctrinated to believe. But then when you start questioning these things, like, well, how do seasons work? And when, we'll go over a little example on that in a minute. Then you find out, wow, seasons make absolutely no sense on the scientifically impossible space ball that we call the Earth. Okay. It's all of these things compound on top of each other. That doesn't work. And that doesn't work on top of that. And that doesn't work on top of that. And if you actually think about seasons, they make no sense in the heliocentric model. So yeah, I was a glober, 8, 9 years ago, however long it's been, the time's flying. I banned people from our social media from my podcast. I was doing a conspiracy podcast and people go, Dave, have you looked into flat earth? Watch this 1 minute video. I'm like, I'm not watching that 1 minute video. And you're banned from ever commenting again because you're too stupid for me to waste my time on. You think the earth is flat, right? That's literally my attitude.
So you started out open-minded. Hopefully people are at least that open-minded today.
Well, I was open-minded, but when the flat earth, come on, we don't have to be open-minded about that. We've known for 2,000 years. Aristophanes figured it out with sticks and shadows 2,000 years ago, right? And all of these pre-programmed things are just coming out of my mouth, right? I know what every globe believer is going to say before they say it because I said the same things. We're all pre-programmed with this. They figured it out 2,000 years ago. Don't be stupid. And, if you think the earth is flat, you're a moron. And it's been ingrained into us so deeply that people just refuse to look at it without looking at the evidence because they think they know already. They think they know. Okay. But it's only when you look. My good friend Sophia Smallstorm, she's like, Dave, I think the earth is flat. And I was like, are you kidding me? Sent me a couple of videos. And you don't just watch a video and go, oh, yeah, the earth is flat. I watched the videos and go, that's really interesting. I said, but I'm going to prove it wrong. And I started digging in deep. Right. And as I'm digging in, the more I'm digging in, the deeper the hole is getting. And that rabbit hole you mentioned earlier is so deep that there's no bottom. So jump in. You're not going to hit the bottom. It's an amazing ride.
It's an interesting thing that as humans, we have this tendency to. I could sit here and think, okay, let's just say you've spent 10,000 hours. Malcolm Gladwell says spend 10,000 hours on something. I would assume you're probably in that range, on this topic. But let's say you're close. And someone who's only heard of this idea would have this resistance to it and push back, which is interesting because you wouldn't do that in a lot of areas. I wouldn't be, I'm not a great mechanic. I know how my car works. I know the basic thrust of it or whatever, but I wouldn't sit down with somebody who's like a professional mechanic. He's dedicated his whole life to that and tell him he doesn't know what he's talking about, on a certain issue. That's an interesting thing that we do that.
Well, it's amazing. So there's different groups of people out there. There's globe believers. That's because they just believe it, and it's actually a religious belief. What do you mean, globe's a religion? It's a religious belief because they believe they live on a globe, but they can't come up with a single reason why. They think they have answers. They think they have unlimited answers, but when you push them for one, they can't come up with one. As you mentioned earlier, I'm offering 3 Bitcoins for 1 proof of the globe. 3 Bitcoins, 1 proof of the globe. And I'll show you how to take that challenge a little bit later. But it's and that's how you become a flat earther. I'm warning you, I'm not going to lose my Bitcoins. If you come up with a globe proof, you get my Bitcoins. Guaranteed, 100% on my life.
Man.
Okay?
I know you got producer Colton's attention over here back here. He's like, hey, yeah. I'm kind of neutral on this thing, but I'm all in for the 3 Bitcoins.
Yeah, and the reason I do that is because I want people to take the time and look. I can't convince you the earth is flat. Only you can. And the way to do that is try to prove it's flat or try to prove it's a globe. Okay. You try to disprove it. Just try to prove the globe. And when you understand the globe model, globe believers have the craziest belief ever. Okay. First, they think that we're a disk floating in space, right? They think that
they would think that about your theory.
Yeah. They think, flat earthers think we're a disk. Why are we the only flat planet and all the other ones around? Pre-programmed response. Everybody has that in them, right? No flat earther thinks this, right? If you Google flat earth and say images, you get this. This is from the Flat Earth Society. President Obama plugged the Flat Earth Society a half a dozen times during his term. And John Kerry mentioned it and they're always mentioning it, right? And now Trudeau and all these other world leaders are all talking about the Flat Earth Society because that's where they want you to go. The Flat Earth Society is ridiculous. This is not what flat Earth is. Okay. And then when you talk to a flat earther and say, not a flat earther, a globe believer that's defending the globe, say, let me ask you some simple questions. Okay. How fast is the earth rotating? Right. They don't know. They don't know. They don't know it's just over 1,000 miles an hour at the equator,
Okay.
right? But then if you're in Alaska, are you moving 1,000 miles an hour in that rotation? No, you're moving maybe 300 miles an hour. Okay, because you're closer. The equator's 24,900 miles around. So it takes 1 day to spin around. So you're going just over 1,000 miles an hour. But if you're near the axis, near the pole, you're making a much smaller circle in that 24 hours and you're traveling less miles.
Okay.
So you're traveling at a different speed. And then this becomes a huge problem when you're talking about flights and motion and everything. And then you ask them, how fast are we orbiting, right? You know a lot of these answers, Dave, because you've been looking. We're orbiting 66,600 miles an hour, according to the Satanists at NASA. 666. Funny, there's a lot of 666s in the what I call the helio nonsensical satanic system, right? And we're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour. Okay, half a million miles per hour, never to return where we were before. Okay, but you can go out tonight, take a picture of the stars at 10 o'clock, midnight, whatever, and then put a note in your calendar to go out and take that same picture a year later or 10 years later, and every star will be in the exact same place. Dave, how is that possible?
I don't know, but that's fascinating. You said I've been looking at this, and I have. We had a conversation about 2 years ago, and you put some kind of seeds in my brain, and I've had about 3 questions most of my whole life on this topic. I've got 5 today that I want to get out of here with, but I just encourage you listeners, as you go, put some notes in the comments. We can have Dave back and hit this from other directions. Our goal is just to have conversations. If nothing else, this is probably going to be the most interesting thing you're going to do today is watch this video. And, it's things like that you just bring up. If somebody has resistance to this, and we live here, the most important thing I can imagine, Dave, is if I was abducted and there's a bag over my head, when they took it off, the first thing I'd want to figure out is, where am I? I mean, that's a fundamental thing to being alive is, okay, I'm alive, I'm breathing, where am I? Most people don't even know what they believe, and you're kind of debating whether what they believe is even true, but it's kind of hard to debate something with somebody who doesn't even know the 1,000 miles an hour, the 300 miles per hour, the 66, they don't even know. Most people don't know the facts about their own. It's like arguing religion with somebody who doesn't even know what their religion is.
Dave, and they don't teach us to think in school. They teach us to memorize and regurgitate. They don't teach us about the law of large numbers. The large numbers are insane, right? Do you know how long 1 trillion seconds is? 1 trillion seconds. Take a guess. If you guess it within 1 year, I'll give you a Bitcoin.
Colton, help me out here. I don't know.
Quick, no Googling.
Like 30 years, 20 years, 30 years.
Very, very, very close. 31,000 years. Okay. What? So to let that sink in for a second, 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. In my belief, the Earth hasn't even been here that long. Okay, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole. 31,000 years, right? The closest star is 25 trillion miles away. So we're in a rocket ship going a mile per second for 1 trillion seconds. We've been traveling 31,000 years. We're only 1/25th of the way to the closest star. Okay. If we were going 100,000 miles an hour, which is unfathomable, it would take us 28,000 years to get there. Okay. Okay. This is nonsensical garbage. And then once you start using real math and say, well, how could I see a something that big, that far? Oh, well, the stars are really big. Well, how come they all look like they're the same size if they're all these crazy different distances, right? Light diminishes over time. It doesn't travel forever. As it spreads out, it's like sound. If you were a mile away, you couldn't hear me, okay? Because the sound spreads out, right? Light will go farther, but it also spreads out and gets weaker and weaker, dimmer and dimmer, and until you can't see it anymore. So it is scientifically provable that we cannot see the stars at the size that they tell us, at the distances they tell us. It's absolutely ridiculous. All right. But they put us, here's the thing. Just jumping forward for a split second. We are at the center of God's creation, okay. The creator. We're in an intelligently designed, created world that's created for us. We have incredible God-given powers and rights and free will and all of this stuff. But the people that are trying to run this world, they hate God. They hate the creator, and they are trying to disconnect us from it. So how do you disconnect? How do you dilute something? You pour it into infinite space. You say that it's so big, you're so insignificant, right? And they start there. And then they literally limit your thoughts. So your thoughts are in the matrix. We'll get into that in a moment. But getting back to this, we're traveling all these different directions, right?
I'm going to note and pin that, come back to that, because that whole God connection there, that is an interesting piece of it. Let's end
there. We'll end there.
Okay.
All right. So in the flat Earth model, the sky is spinning around a center point, which we call Polaris, and all the stars are moving. So here are all the stars. And then when we look up, we see them spinning perfectly. Polaris never moves, right? We're corkscrewing through space. We're going back and forth on 186,000 million miles back and forth on each side of the sun, traveling away. And Polaris never moves, right? Right. If we were doing this, corkscrewing through space, this is what star trails would look like. Okay. That's ridiculous, right? That's what they would look like, and we don't live in that kind of world because it's scientifically impossible.
About a year ago, and I don't want to get you off track, but it's on this point when it really jumped out at me when I don't know what happened to them, if who did what, but the Georgia Guidestones got taken out of commission. You already know where I was going. Good. When those stories came out, one of the observatory things they were talking about is these stones have been there for whatever since the 70s or some kind of thing, but they got holes through them. I didn't know they got holes. You can see the same stars the whole time.
This hole right here in the center stone, when you look through it, you can see Polaris and all the other stars circle around it. So we're traveling 4.4 billion miles a year. We're zigzagging back and forth on each side of the sun, 183 million miles, whatever it is. And somehow Polaris stays in there. And the globe excuse is, that Polaris is so far away that even though we're traveling 4.4 billion miles a year after year, century after century, there's no parallax. It's so far away that it never moves. Okay,
give me an analogy. Like, what would that be like? Would it be like I'm driving in my car, but there's some kind of monument that's so big I could see it, even though I'm going fast, I could see it for a long time.
So no, when you're driving your car, the trees that are right on the side of the road are going, they're just whizzing by you. But the trees on top of the mountain, you can stare at that tree for a long time. It's barely moving out of your window. It's very slow. The farther away something is, the slower it moves out of your angular view. Right next to you, they're whizzing by. So Polaris is so far away that all of these motions don't matter. It's ridiculous. Here's the thing. Most people go, their mind short circuit. They go, I can't understand that. And that's because you're smart, because it's not understandable. It's dumb. Okay. It's ridiculous, but it makes people just give up and they appeal to authority. Like, I don't have a PhD. I got to trust a guy in a bow tie and a lab coat who used to be a failed comedian. Okay. He's the one that's going to tell me what I need to believe. And I'm going to give up my God-given common senses and just use nonsense, because nonsense is is my religion, right? If you're a global believer, you live in a nonsense religion, and you think that it's science because they use the word science. It's pseudoscience, all of it. So here's the thing.
Either way, would say that either way requires a certain amount of faith?
No. There's no faith in flat Earth. But by the way, Dave, just to give you a quick backstory on me, I grew up, I was born in a Jewish family, but not really practicing Jews at all. I mean, maybe went to temple, on special holidays and stuff. And I just never got into it. And I didn't even get bar mitzvahed when I was 13. And then,
that's our rip-off. That's the best part.
Yeah, I know. And I ended up getting bar mitzvah when I was 16 because my father got remarried to a very Jewish woman, and she's like, "Oh my God, he's not bar mitzvah," and whatever. Okay, so I did all that, but I just didn't buy into the religion thing, and I never labeled myself, but I guess you could call me an atheist, all right? Because I just didn't believe in any of these religions, right? But then when all of a sudden I found out that the Earth is intelligently designed, Dave, therefore there is a creator. Now, I'm not going to put a label on the creator. I'm not going to say who the creator is. I'm saying there's a creator, and we are at the center of creation, and this place is created for us. And then it gave me no choice but to understand that we live in a created world. Okay. So then from there, your personal relationship with the creator grows, and you start learning all sorts of things. Flat Earth brings people to the creator. There's something there. I think there's is it a verse in the Bible? Or is it a quote? I'm trying to remember. It said, in the Bible, I forget the verse. It says something to the gist of, once you see my creation, the earth, you can no longer deny my existence. Okay? And that's a fact. Because we live in an intelligently designed world, you have to accept that there's a creator. The people that are running this world, and I call them people, with liberally, because who knows? They're monsters, if you ask me. They hate God, and they don't want us in a situation where we can't deny God. So they keep putting stuff out there that makes us doubt God. I mean, you could find God, in this heliocentric world, but you're not honoring the true creation of this world. You're living in a psyop. The globe is the psyop, but they'll tell you that flat Earth is a psyop. So
I will add to this. I don't think the theory of evolution and we came from, it's just, everybody knows the whole process, whatever version of it, how many, whether it's 2 billion years or 8 billion years, now the use of time, no matter what, it only works on the globe model where you're a dot in the middle of that. Cause then you can extrapolate those distances and times, and we came from nothing, but it would never work in an enclosed, firmament based reality. You couldn't have evolution and the firmament model.
Well, the whole idea, things, mutations making things better and better and better. I'm sitting here, Dave, with my eyes. I could see you on my screen. I could see out my skylight here. I could see trees in the distance. I could see colors. I know how far things are. I can do all of this. This is just a whole bunch of random mutations from pond scum. We were pond scum, Dave. Right. And then we turned into frogs, and we turned into, turned into fish, and we grew legs, and we climbed out of the water and found other sexy fish and turned into monkeys and turned into people. That is the farthest you can get from God. Okay. The farthest. It's a total joke. The theory of evolution has been completely discredited, but they still teach it. Okay. Yeah. There's no,
as a fact and not a theory.
Yeah. It's, but they still teach it, David. They still teach it. So just finishing on the Georgia Guidestones, they were built in 1981. So they tell us in the heliocentric model that the Earth is precessing. The axis is tilting every 26,000 years, and so every 76 years it moves 1 degree. And it's provable that if you moved this whole 1 degree, the Polaris wouldn't be there anymore. Okay, if you move Polaris 1 degree, it wouldn't be there anymore. Well, this was up for over 40 years. And I'm sorry, if you move it a half a degree, it'll be way out of that circle. Just a half a degree. Well, it was up for 40 years. It was still there. Okay. So it got blown up by a terrorist somehow, crazy. Right. And then there's a shaft in the Great Pyramid of Giza that points at Polaris. And they say, oh, well, when they built it, it pointed at another North Star called Thuban. And, we've processed, and now we just by chance are looking at this other North Star. Ridiculous. We, for thousands of years, the shaft in the pyramid looked at nothing, and now it's looking at Polaris. Okay, just by chance. We live at the time where it's pointing at our North Star. Give me a break. Give me a break.
What else is there like that? Because a lot of monuments are built like that. And there's pyramids in South America and Mexico and all over, and they're all aligned to star bodies. And I think sometimes I'm looking at everything, culture and news and everything through the lens of conservative Christian values with a biblical base. And I always kind of use that as my reference to come back to. But there's a lot of references in the Bible to stars. The wise men came to see Jesus on the stars. But I think in most faith-based people that vacate anything involving stars because they don't want to get into something, so we kind of vacate a lot of spaces. But clearly people have been looking at these same things for a long time.
So let me show you this monument here. This is a war memorial. I'm not saying I'm pro-war or anything. It's interesting. So every year on November 11th, 11/11, at 11:11 a.m., the sun will line up with these holes, boop, 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 and lights up this emblem on the ground just for a minute. Okay? Once a year. Okay. Every year, without fail, perfectly, more precise than a Rolex watch. Okay? Okay? So we live in this gravitational, heliocentric, orbiting, multi-bodied solar system. Okay? Dave, do you know what the 3-body problem is?
Nope.
No, probably not. It's okay. We weren't taught this stuff in school. Every single question I'm going to ask you, the answer should be, I don't know.
I'm the note taker. Unless you got some Bitcoins in there, at least I'll throw out something because I might get it right. But
all right. So the three body problem is they can take a computer model, greatest supercomputer ever, and they say, okay, I've got a sun in this model, and it's this big, and it's got this much gravity, and then I got an Earth, a planet, and I'm going to put them in orbit around each other, and it will predict where it's going to be precisely for minutes, years, centuries. It works perfectly. Then they say, okay, now we're going to add another planet or another star or another moon or something into that system.
Okay.
And you know what happens, Dave? It goes haywire, and no supercomputer can figure out where it's going to be. Now, this is easy. This is three bodies the same size. You put them together, and all of a sudden they start pulling on each other, and the whole system goes haywire, and no supercomputer in the world could figure out what it's going to do next.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm following you right. So if you have two bodies that are identical shape and size.
No. They can be any two different sizes. A computer can figure out two bodies.
Even if they're two sizes, two's no problem.
Two's no problem. Different sizes, no problem. But you add three different sizes, same size, doesn't matter. This is what happened. Okay. So Dave, we live in this solar system, right? We got the sun over here, right? And it's a gas ball in a void of space vacuum. That we can get into that. That's a huge problem, right? But the sun is holding on to all of the planets. Its gravity is so big. This gassy ball burning in space, nuclear fusion, its gravity is holding on to Venus and Mercury and Earth and Mars and Saturn and all the way out to Pluto, right? It's holding on to them. But while it's holding on to Earth, the moon is orbiting Earth, but Earth is holding on to the moon. The gravity of Earth is holding on to the moon.
Right.
So what happens, Dave, when we have we got the sun's over here and the Earth is over here and the moon's coming around the Earth? Wouldn't the sun speed it up a little bit? Wouldn't the sun's gravity speed it up a little bit? And when it comes around this way, wouldn't the sun tug on it, slow it down a little bit? Well, that would make sense.
That would make sense.
But for some reason, the sun's gravity ignores all of that. Right now, they tell us Jupiter has like 70 moons, and they keep changing the number. It's all nonsense, right? And we have all of these things going on, and then we've had these planetary alignments. Just recently, we had an alignment where all the planets lined up. Now, all of them are in alignment. So we have the gravity of Jupiter. Jupiter, they tell us, has more gravity than all of the other planets combined. Jupiter, they tell us, is made of 99% helium and hydrogen, but which defies gravity here on Earth. So how much helium and hydrogen do you need to make more gravity than all of the other planets combined? Okay. This is stuff that they want your brain to short circuit on. And it does, because people are like, I don't know. I have to look at my textbook. Yeah. Okay. So you can't have these systems like that. It just doesn't work. All right. So here's the other thing. I was going to make a good point. I'm spacing out on it.
You were headed in for a slam dunk.
I was.
The helium stuff inside of Jupiter?
No. Well, the Jupiter is, like how much helium does it take to create gravity when it defies gravity here on Earth, right? We'll get into that in a moment. So my point was, this whole gravity thing doesn't make sense. It actually doesn't work at all, right? Because the sun would pull, everything would pull on each other, and then it just goes out a little bit out of orbit, and you got this issue, okay? But somehow, for all of recorded history, none of the stars ever change. Everything repeats. Dave, they tell us the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon and 400 times farther away than the moon. That's why they look like they're the same size.
Okay.
Right?
Which would make sense, if you had,
it does to me.
A little guy and a defensive lineman, just separate them far enough, and they would appear the same size.
Right. So yeah, that works. But the fact that the two major luminaries in our sky that have so many that literally we couldn't live without, they look like they're the same size. That to me says intelligent design. Or maybe they're just the same size. But okay. So if the sun is 93 million miles away, where they tell us, which is also a made up nonsensical pseudoscience claim, and the moon is, 250,000 miles away, the idea that they would line up perfectly is the chances of that are so slim. Not going to say impossible, but they're so slim. It's next to impossible, right next to impossible. Okay. And then the idea that it would happen again is like winning the lottery again, the Powerball again, right? It's way worse than that. Winning the Powerball every day for years and years and years is more probable than these things lining up. But here's the thing. These eclipses happen in this pattern. There's a pattern of eclipses, and they repeat every 18 years. The entire pattern repeats like a quartz clock, a quartz watch. Okay.
Okay.
How is that possible in this crazy gravitational world? And it's not. It's not possible.
And this diagram that you're showing here is it called the three body problem? Is that the actual name of it, or is that what you call it?
If you Google the three body problem, there's millions of there's millions of examples. Here's just another one. It basically does the same thing. So, once you understand that, you have to question, like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make the world flat. It just means that they're lying about the lights we see in the sky. We don't need to look up at the sky to figure out the shape of the floor. David, the shape of the lights in your ceiling above you do not dictate the shape of your floor. Okay?
Good point.
They do not.
So let me ask you a question. Let's dig into this a little bit then. That's what we were taught, and then you say quite often here that's what they say. So what do you say? What is the sun? What is the moon? What are these things that we see? Because clearly they're there. Your premise is not denying their existence. How does it work in use the term heliocentric model? What would you call this model that you have? And does everybody agree with you? Is there like a textbook and you're the spokesperson for it? Or
No, absolutely not.
Are there variations of this? And like,
so there's flat earthers that are hardcore biblical flat earthers. They say, well, we live under a dome. It's a glass dome. The Bible says it's a glass dome. I don't believe there's a glass dome. Okay. Some people think that that's the end of it. Other people, like myself, I think the sky is flat, and we see in an azimuthal dome of vision, which we could explain, longer explanation. I'm going to point you to videos and stuff where that's fully explained for you. That's not a fact. That's not a theory. That's a fact. And Globers actually use that as how we see the world, which is very deceiving. Okay. And you can literally make someone believe they live on a ball if their person isn't a critical thinker. And most people aren't taught to critically think, and that's why we all believe it, right? But we have to believe that the sun is 93 million miles away. It's a burning ball of gas that's so compressed that it turned into a nuclear furnace. Okay. Dave, the sun has a certain amount of mass, and that mass has gravity, and it's holding onto all the planets. Okay. Cool story, bro. All right. and let me ask a question. If we reduce the mass of the sun, would it screw up the whole solar system?
Yeah. I mean,
if we reduce it enough. So let's say we reduced it 1 million pounds a day. You think that would make any difference?
I would imagine. I mean, that sounds like a ton. I mean, it sounds like
it's so big that I think that the fraction is so small. But let's say 1 million tons a day. Ooh, that's more interesting. Let's say 1 billion tons a day. A billion with a B. 1 billion tons a day. You think that would screw up the balance of the solar system over millennia after millennia after millennia? Because the sun's been there for billions of years, and we've been in this perfect orbit, and everything's been repeating. But if you removed 1 billion tons of mass every single day from the sun, over time, that would cause a problem. Agreed?
Yeah, you had me at a few million tons. So,
Dave, what about 100 billion tons a day?
And that's what's being released. Kind of like if I have a fire pit and I'm burning.
You're burning the wood. So the mass of the mass in the fire pit's getting smaller. Because you're releasing the energy. So 100 billion tons a day over millions of years things would start changing, and nothing would keep repeating. But Dave, it doesn't do 100 billion tons a day. If I told you it did 406 billion tons a day, that would be like, that can't be. You're right. That's not true either. 406 billion tons an hour is released from the sun. Would that do it for you? Because I'm lying again. It's actually, according to NASA, 406 billion tons every single second.
Wow.
That is the claim. So the sun is reducing in mass 406 billion tons every single second since its conception billions and billions of years ago. And everything works like a perfect clock. Gravity is magical. It does amazing things. It holds oceans to the bottom of a ball. Okay. But I can raise my hands. Dave, if I have my hand here and I had a 5-pound frying pan and I wanted to press that frying pan up against my hand,
right?
5-pound frying pan, how many pounds of pressure would I need to push up to get it to my hand?
5 pounds of pressure?
5 pounds of pressure, right? If I had 4 pounds of pressure, it wouldn't reach my hand. It would fall down,
Correct.
right? So 5 pounds of pressure needed to hold that to the underside of my hand. Dave, there's hundreds of trillions of tons of water on the bottom of this planet. How many pounds of pressure would be needed to hold up hundreds of billions and trillions of tons of water? Okay?
A lot.
It doesn't make sense. So, Dave, what is gravity? Before I go back to gravity, this is filmed in Florida by one of our guys, 93 million miles away. Look at this. What are we seeing here? You asked me what the sun is.
Yeah.
I think the sun is I don't know what the sun is, Dave. I don't know, but it gives us life. It gives us food. It makes life possible. It gives us energy. It does everything. You could say that the sun, the SON, is very similar. The SUN is very similar to the SON. Okay? You know, without the sun, we couldn't see. Without the sun, we couldn't eat. It warms our hearts. It gives us life. It makes things grow. It brings the flowers. It does everything. Okay? Very interesting. If you watch the sun set and you're standing at the edge of the water, the sun walks on the water and has a personal relationship with you. Because if you were 100 feet down the beach, you wouldn't see this line to my feet, and I wouldn't see the line that goes to your feet. You're having a personal relationship with the sun that's walking on the water.
Oh, okay. Boom! All right. Now you're patronizing me. You're playing to the home crowd.
No, no. What, Dave? This is just such an amazing subject to go to. So we need to go back to gravity, and we need to talk about gravity.
Let's just hit this. Let's let people know where we're going. I'm going to be talking today. I'm not to go there now, but let people know. I want to go to why are there no pictures? We got emergency plane landings, seasons, hemispheres, then water satellites. All of these.
All right. You know what? Let's go. We'll go down that list in that order.
I want that list. I want the listeners to know. Hey, if you're thinking these things, what about this? What about that? I'm going to do my best to take Dave Weiss here and just crush him like an orange. I'm trying to get every piece of juice out of his brain and answers, for all of these things. So I want to keep going to that, but I want to talk about the Earth and then what is it, but then what is above us if it's not infinite space.
Well, page 1 of the Bible says God separated the waters from the waters and created the earth as like a seal in the clay, right? So the earth is this terra firma that we're on. We're on this plane inside this toroidal field. And what's above us? Ask me. I think it's water. Listen to NASA. What do they talk about? Ships, dockings, Sea of Tranquility. Everything they talk about in space is about water. Okay. And then, when nobody, we haven't gone there yet, but nobody's been into space. Okay. Because space doesn't exist as described. Right. I'm trying to let me pull up something real quick. Go ahead. You gonna say something?
No, I just make sure we hit that too. I don't know if we can get all this done today in one episode. If we do, you might be laying on the ground, just your eye twitching from too many questions. But obviously, moon landing is something that I think a lot of people, especially younger people coming up now, and they look at the technology that they're presenting. Even when I was a kid, there was a place called the Cosmosphere Space and Discovery Center in Hutchinson, Kansas, where I grew up. And so when you grow up there in grade school, you take a trip. I remember looking at some of they have a lot of artifacts. It's a really beautiful place. They have a planetarium there as well. But I would look at some of the technology they had even when I was a kid, and which is been a minute. I was like questioning the authenticity of that process just based on the aluminum foil wrapped around the little go-karts and whatever, this kind of stuff. So I have a lot of questions on these things. I'm going to add the moon landing to that. We'll kind of come back to that as well and see what you got to say on it.
So, we just had a new movie come out called Level with Me. You can find it on my website, flatearthdave.com. I think you saw it already. Did you see it, Dave?
I did.
Level with Me. And we get into a lot of the space hoax, fakery stuff. But one of the things that I talk about in the movie is when we watch the SpaceX rocket go, it looks like it's skimming across the water in the sky. It literally looks like if you were looking down at a speedboat on the water, it looks the same as what we're seeing up there. I don't know. I'm not claiming to know, but it's very fascinating. But we can actually prove that NASA's faking being on the space station. You catch them faking once, let alone 100 times. You can unwind the whole thing as to they're lying about everything. So, one real quick thing: rockets, right? Now, whenever you watch a NASA or SpaceX rocket, edit, 5-6 edits before it even clears the tower. But this is the Go Fast rocket done by Red Bull in Arizona. I believe it was shot in Arizona or New Mexico. I think Arizona, and it went up, an uninterrupted feed. It's spinning, and then all of a sudden it went kerplunk, and it hit something. Now I don't think it hit water. I think it hit like a thicker plasma field. Okay. And then it hung like really weird for a little bit, but that was the not the most interesting part besides the flat horizon. All of a sudden we saw the moon. There's the moon right there. Okay, well, where's the moon? Where was the moon at that time? Well, at that time, okay, it was in Arizona. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning, so the sun's moving over. So it's like Arizona over here, right? The moon was over Australia. Okay. So if that rocket was going up from Arizona, that rocket was a fraction of a millimeter above this ball, right? A fraction of a millimeter above this ball, and the moon was down here.
Now, where'd you come up with the fraction of a millimeter part? Like,
well, if you do the ratio. If you look at it, they went up 72 miles or something like that. 72 miles is you can't even, the scale is too small to even show you. It's like a millimeter above that, right? Even if it was a freaking 2 inches above it, which is not, that's thousands and thousands of miles. You wouldn't be able to see below it, right? We saw the moon.
And how did you know for sure it was the moon? Did they?
Oh, it's 100%. You zoom in on it, you can actually see the moon. You can see it. It's no doubt it's the moon.
Man, okay.
It's not even a question.
I would just, on all of those kind of questions with that. So 72 miles high, because I'm sure we'll get into curvature and windows and all this kind of stuff, because people think they can see the curvature just because if you're out in western Kansas it's so flat, like you can see it, right? They think you can see it if you're in a water tower. They think you can see the curvature if you're on a Southwest flight. What point do you have to get to, and how high do most planes fly? How high did that rocket go?
So,
how high are satellites?
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother thing. There are no satellites. We'll get into that. Okay. And there are no satellites as described. All right. Okay. So this is a balloon at 120,000 feet. Dave, 120,000 feet, right? The sun, it's right there. Like, why has it got a hot spot? If the sun was 93 million miles away, it would just light up everything evenly. But this is like a light, hold the flashlight near a wall and then move it all the way to the far side of the room. There's no hot spot. It lights up the whole wall, right? Makes sense. Why is this lighting up? Why is this lighting up right here?
How high is this, Dave?
This is 120,000 feet. That's like 20 miles. Okay.
Say, I don't want to be an ignoramus, but I was going to figure that into miles. So
yeah, it's like 20 miles up. But Dave, check this out. And let me tell you what's going to happen. Your brain's going to go, that doesn't make any sense to me. I can't figure it out. And that's because you can't figure it out because it's I don't want to say the R word, but it's R. Okay. All right. So
ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculous. That's the word I was going to use. Kansas, pretty flat, right? You ever drive across Kansas?
Many times.
Flat.
Eastern Colorado, flat.
From one end of Kansas to the other, do you know how much the earth drops?
Okay, based on the guy with the sticks
based on the size that they tell us the earth is.
Yeah. Right. So based on the curvature across the state of Kansas, there would be a drop of.
There would be a drop. Like, so if you're on one end of Kansas and we say, okay, we're on the top of the ball, and then your buddy goes around, how much of a drop off of that plane?
Over 400 miles? I don't know.
No, it's 20 miles.
No, I think the length of the
it's
state.
400 miles across Kansas. 20 miles of curvature. So, David, this is 20 miles high. There's this from here to the ground. That's how much curvature you experience driving across Kansas.
Okay.
I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. I can't figure it out because it's ridiculous.
A little bit of blood just trickled out of my ear right there, I think. When you
Yeah. Well, because Dave, this is stupid, but people believe it because they never thought about it. This is how much curvature there is between Kansas, from one end of Kansas to the other. Well, your math must be wrong. Not my math. It's globe curvature math. Okay. On my app, there's a curvature calculator. If you live on a body of water somewhere and you could see something across, go to the calculator, put in your elevation height, put the distance to the thing that you're seeing, and see if you should be able to see it. Many, many times you'll see things that you could not see.
Can you put your app up there real quick and tell people how to get that? Because that is a pretty great tool.
Yeah. So good
that you've made available. I just want to tell people, man, it's like if you're enjoying this conversation as much as I am, because I'm taking notes here, and I've got more questions going than I did when we started. But whether you agree with Dave or not, you got to agree he puts as much effort into this as he possibly can to help you understand what he's saying, which I think is pretty generous.
Dave, what difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday. That's what everyone's thinking right now, okay? Because that's a pre-programmed line. And I said it. I said, when I was like, well, I've seen boats go over the horizon, they show me how you can zoom in on boats again. I'm like, let's remind me to do that. And then I was like, okay, well, what about seasons? And then we got to talk about seasons. Make sure that's written down. And then I was like, okay, what about time zones, day and night? What about sunsets, right? And then that was taken away from me. And I was like, well, what difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday. Dave, my whole life has changed. I decided this is the most important message I can go out there. This is the message that brings people to the Creator. This is the message that takes back our freedom. This is the way we escape the tyranny that's going on, the slavery that's going on, right? If you don't know where you live, where you stand, or the true power of your mind, you're a slave forever. Okay. So I walked away from my own company, Dave. I had everything. I went to college, went to corporate America, left corporate America, started my own business, was the CEO of my own business. Everything was going amazing. I was making tons of money, walked away from it all. Okay. I walked away from it all because none of it's going to matter if we let the world keep going in a direction that it's going. And I see the world has taken a major shift. The cat's out of the bag. The flat earth cat is out of the bag. It's not going back in. Okay. And it is amazing. So just to show you what I mean, on the app, if I go to the friend finder and I'm loading the world view here, and people say, flat earth is dying. Remember back, it'd be pre-2017, when you go on Google and you Google like Loch Ness Monster, there's just 387,000 results, right? It gives you the score counter, right? Well, flat earth was rising up higher and higher and higher. In 2017, the highest search term on YouTube, on Google, was President Trump. Flat earth beat President Trump.
Wow.
The next day, they removed the scoreboard from YouTube.
It's kind of like the thumbs down button.
Yeah, they removed the scoreboard because they didn't want you to know. Then they threw in an algorithm that just fed you garbage. And YouTube, if you look, the anti-flat earthers, the paid or possessed shills out there will say, look, flat earth is dying. Flat earth is dying. This is a fraction of the people that have my app. Okay, is flat Earth dying, Dave? Is this show that flat Earth is dying?
Those are pins of people that are.
These are all people that are on the app that have joined the friend finder, because when you're a flat earther, you want to find other people around you like-minded. This is the greatest thing ever for meeting people. Every blue dot on here is somebody that you have a ton in common with.
Yeah,
right?
You should charge like a dating service.
Well, it is. No, it's not. Well, I kind of do charge. Let me tell you about it. The app's $3. You get it forever. You get this. You get everything I've shown you. But on the app, if you want to message somebody, like I could say, okay, you know what? Hey, let me click on this person right here, and I could see their name and their profile, and I could click on it, and I could look at them. I could send them a message. I could do a call with them. I could join groups on here. There's a schooling flat Earth. Flat Earth children or whatever, and all these people in there sharing ideas and all sorts of stuff, right? I can send out a radius message. I have my radius set for 50 kilometers and there's 533 people. I can send out a message like, hey, April 29th, Rico's Pizza, Stamford, Connecticut. We're having a meetup. We did that. We have probably close to 100 people coming. Okay. Every single person that shows up, man or woman, child, whatever, is literally your best friend. People have gotten married. People have had babies because of this. People have gotten new jobs. People have hired people, right? Because Dave, as far as, and I'm not saying this is just a dating app. This is connecting like-minded people. What's the number one thing we all want to do is connect with like-minded people, right? That's what we do. You go out and you meet people. I really like this person. We're like-minded. We talk about the same things. This is bringing people together on an unprecedented scale. So here's the thing: the app is $3. You get it forever. You get tons and tons of resources.
Make sure I get that right.
But if you want,
it's $3. $3
one time.
It's not $3 a month or anything.
No, it's $3 one time. But if you want to use the messaging service, if you want to message other flat earthers, or I've just added a new games feature where you can play games with other people remotely and all sorts of stuff, you have to pay a subscription fee of $11 per year. Per year, David. Okay, $11 per year. But I some people are like, well, I don't want to pay $11 per year. I still have to pay my $24.99 to Netflix. Okay, right? And
a month.
There's more information on here. Get rid of Netflix, play this. But so it's $11 a year. But if you don't want to pay that, I have a thing called a referral link right here. You click that, you create your referral name, right? And then you tell people about the app and say, hey, check out this app, learn about Flat Earth. And when you have 11 referrals, you can trade them in for a year subscription. Pretty fair deal, right?
You know how you could get people here in Kansas City interested. I mean, it's all good so far, but if you had some kind of a referral bonus that was connected like to some hot sauce or some barbecue sauce.
Well, if you get 25 referrals, I saw it on your website. Yeah, 25 referrals, you get my most amazing hot sauce, which is not for sale, by the way. I only give it away. Okay, it's not for sale. It's good. It's all organic. It's mango. It's mind blowing. FlatEarthDave.com. And by the way, that promotion is only lasting till the end of the year because it actually costs me money. The cost to make the sauce and ship it to you costs more than those 25 referrals. 25 people joining the app will make me, but I don't care. I just want people to get the app and I want people to have a good time. And I want people to wake up and unfree themselves from the heliocentric matrix. So thanks for throwing that in there.
No, I love it, especially with the sauce. What's funny is, you live where, we don't have, a beach here or mountains or things like that, in Kansas City, but we have barbecue. That's our thing. And so when
it's so good on barbecue.
It's amazing, but you see.
I'm going to send you some.
When you see a sauce like that, I automatically, if I'm at a truck stop, I'll buy some. I'm like, that's probably not as good as they're saying. I'm going to buy it and taste it. Like I'm a sucker.
Dave, do you have the app? Yes. Did you download it yet?
Yep, I did.
Okay. So get it in front of you. Open up the friend finder. Yeah. Have you logged into the friend finder yet or no?
No, I've not done anything with that. I got the.
All right. So you haven't done it yet, but
if the documentary,
if you hit the handshake button, that's the friend finder. You're going to have to create a login, email, and a password just one time because that will keep your data organized. And then I want you to go into this button here and create a referral code and announce it on the show. Give people your referral code. I want anyone that gets the app, when you download the app, it's going to say, do you have a referral code? And then I want you to put in Dave's referral code, right? So I can send him some hot sauce.
Okay, here we got one. Producer Colton already helped me out because he is twice as smart and 4 times faster. It is 28270.
Okay, no. But hold on. There's a little pencil next to that. You see the little pencil to the right of it? You see the pencil? There's where it says the code number. Right here. Right here to the right, there should be a little pencil right there.
He is checking.
You see it? That way you can edit your number and you can create something like, fly over, whatever, up to 7 characters.
What a great name.
Throwing a number out there, no one's going to remember.
With your app. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I'll let him work on that for 1 second. We'll come back in with that.
All right, come back in. We'll throw that out there. And then
we're going to make it fly over. We would make it fly over. So.
Wait, FLYOVER 5, 6, 7. Perfect. Fly over, no spaces. Make it all lowercase. Fly over, no spaces. So that'll be your referral code. So when anyone that downloads the app, the first thing it's going to say is, do you have a referral code? Type in flyover, and that's it. You get nothing for it. Dave gets credit.
But I'll be working my way towards some hot sauce, and I'll
you'll be working your way towards some hot sauce for sure. All right, so just real quick, I don't want to stay in the app forever, because people like Dave's just in this for the money. Trust me, I was making money long before this, right?
If you were in this to get rich, you should probably charge more.
Well, the other thing is, reason I push my app in every single video, everything I go, is because it is the best tool. Show me a better tool that people carry in their pocket every day. They'll always have it in their hand, right? That you can I'm stuck in line, I'm stuck in traffic, I've got 10 minutes to kill. Bam! The featured video of the day. Here's the challenge for the Bitcoins. Get the app, watch the featured video each day for 2 weeks. At the end of that 2 weeks, if you think that the Earth is a globe, send me one proof and you win. But before you do, you have to hit the question mark button, which is the frequently asked questions page. And here are all the things. Hey, well, why would they lie? What about seasons? What about the International Space Station? What about Antarctica and the 24-hour sun? You click any one of those, and up comes a ton of videos that Google is hiding from you. Okay, they're hiding them. So again, the app has so many more things. All my interviews, including your interview, will be right here under the interviews tab. I have over 1,000 interviews in here now. Okay. All sorts of stuff. 2 amazing TikTokers, which you and I talked about. These guys, I have a podcast. Amazing.
I'm blown away how many really, really cool young people, you and I are in the middle range.
These two,
these young guys, they've got it dialed in. They're funny.
Excuse me, Dave. I don't identify with chronological age, so keep it down. Okay, all right. So Derek and Caleb, two amazing guys.
You don't, but I guarantee they do. When they see you and I, they're like, "Oh yeah, those are a couple older guys."
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. All right. Flat Earth documentaries, amazing stuff. Tons of stuff. The rabbit hole on this page is so deep. We have books. This is the book I told you about. The first book. Coffee table book. That's the one. If you like books, put one in your bathroom. Put one on your coffee table. Give one to your Globy friends or relatives, and just say, please go through this, right? And the thing is, you don't have to read the whole book. You could say, well, what about sunsets? And you look up sunsets, and you go, and it explains it, pictures and everything. Okay, tons of stuff. Kids books by Flat Earth Man, amazing. This is an amazing series. We have all sorts of Flat Earth related merchandise, things that I did. And by the way, I make no money off this. I just put stuff off on here, except this is my t-shirt shop. If you want to get a cool t-shirt like this, right? This is what I call my subtle, hey, I don't want people to know too much, right? But so I wear this.
So what kind of response do you get, like grocery store or something like that?
Let me tell you about this shirt. This shirt, I have a big sweatshirt too. By the way, the sweatshirt, if you like hoodies, this is like the best hoodie, and it's a Flat Earther hoodie. Amazing. So you wear this out, and it does 2 things, okay? One, anybody that's a Flat Earther will be like, hey, yo, flat, and boom, you just met somebody really cool. And then globe believers don't see you. It literally turns you invisible, okay? They look at it, their brain short circuit, they don't even see you. You get erased. You get wiped out from their video game. Okay. So it keeps the normies away from you, and it attracts like-minded people. Occasionally you'll get somebody to go, Flat Earth, what do you mean by that? You being, sarcastic. And I was like, well, Globe Earth, what do you mean by that? And then now the conversation started. So it's a great conversation starter. It's just fun. And I have a bunch of them, and when we go out with friends and people are cold, here, let me give you a sweatshirt, and we all wear them, and it's just amazing.
That's funny. And that's what I like about your personality, Dave, is you're not combative and divisive, because I've watched you on a few videos, and you'll be on with somebody who is really like, I'm not here to iron out your wrinkles. I'm going to have another show next Saturday, and it might be, something totally different. I'm not here to bring somebody on for me to iron out their wrinkles. I'm here to learn and ask great questions. And, but some of these I've seen you on are kind of combative, and
some of them. If you Google, good. Sorry.
And you handle that, really well. Again, I in the opening reference, she's like a really great teacher. You're a passionate educator.
If you Google my name, my YouTube channel, DITRH or anything, and looking for something specific, you're going to get the same list of videos all the time, right? And the number one thing you're going to hit is my supposedly debate with a guy that calls himself Professor Dave, but he really should be called Failed Musician Dave, who's not a professor. And he's out there pushing nonsense strawman arguments. But on the app, if you hit the web button and go to Debunking the Debunkers, okay, and you pull up that page and you scroll down just a little bit, it's this one right here. Flat Earth Dave humiliates Professor Dave. And this is a guy that's not a flat earther. He is a logic and reason analyst, right? Whether he believes the earth is flat doesn't matter. He analyzes debate for logical fallacies and ad hominems. And I'll just give you a spoiler alert. Dave almost hits 300 non-professor Dave versus myself, which I got like 6 because I kept saying, stop being a dick. Okay. And he gave me a negative point for that, whatever. Because I called him a name. That's an ad hom. So again, tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff on here. You don't need the subscription, but I would appreciate it if you would get the subscription because I need that money to support this app to make it keep doing what it's doing and take it to the next level. It's literally $11 a year. But you don't have to. Get the app, period. And that's all fun.
I think it's great, because you got a lot of people out there that make a lot of claims about different things and don't bring the receipts and back it up. So I'd love that you do that and you're willing to have a really interesting conversation. But I want to keep moving along because I do have more questions than when we started.
Okay. Go ahead.
And most of what you're showing here, comes to that. Let's go show the app there real quick while you got it up. I think that helped me understand your perspective a lot better by looking at that face of the clock.
Can we want to jump into seasons while we're here?
Yeah. I mean, because when I saw that, if I'm looking at that is basically
we're looking straight down at the earth from Polaris.
I'm God looking down on the earth, basically.
Well, they do say Polaris is God's throne. Okay. So we are in the position looking straight down on earth. Now, wherever the sun is, it's noon. Okay, so right now in Sydney, Australia, it's noon, right? And I got this on time lapse, so it's cruising around. So there's 24 time zones, and it goes around. Now you see those 2 yellow lines. The outer yellow line is the Tropic of Capricorn, and the sun is over that on December. And then the inner yellow line is the Tropic of Cancer. So let's move to the solstice. Jump forward, April, May, June. So in June, the sun is over the Tropic of Cancer. Okay, we're inside that circle. So the sun's never going to make it directly over us. But as it comes closer to us, that's our summer. So it's going to go over Miami. It's hot in Miami in June. Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, that's because the sun is almost directly over them, right? It's cold in Santiago. It's cold in Australia because they're farther away from the sun. But 6 months later, 6 months later, the sun moves out to the Tropic of Capricorn. It's far away from us. It's our winter. It's over them. I call my friend in Australia, like, hey, where's the sun? He's like, oh, it's directly over me and it's noon. I'm like, oh, that's interesting because it's midnight here and it's dark and it's cold. So let me explain that real quick.
That is some people's kind of objection, and it's hard to understand. Like, well, if the earth is round, it's on the other side. That's why it's dark. If it goes flat, why isn't it all this daytime everywhere all the time? That helps that, I think, that argument.
We'll talk about that in 1 second, but let me just finish the seasons. So I come to Kansas in February for some crazy reason, and you and I sit out in the middle of a cornfield, and we're 20 feet apart because we don't want to infect each other, and we're trying to drink a beer, and the beers are freezing because it's cold. It gets cold in Kansas, right?
Oh yeah,
sure. So we're sitting there; it's freezing. So then your wife comes out and she's got a heat lamp on a 15-foot high pole, and she holds a big heat lamp directly over you.
Okay.
Directly over you. And you're like, and you take off your coat, your beer melts, and you're like, And I say, where is that heat lamp? That's your sun. And you go, well, it's right up there. Okay. And I'm like, because I see it lower in the sky and it's farther away and I could barely feel the heat. I'm freezing. It's over there. It's far away. Now she walks over to me. Now let's pretend you're on the Tropic of Capricorn. I'm on the Tropic of Cancer. It's December 21st. She's holding it directly over you.
Okay.
That's your summer sun. It's low in the sky for me. As she walks to me, keeping it at the same height, takes her 6 months to get to me. It gets higher and higher and higher and higher and higher until it's directly over me. Now I'm warm. You look at it. It's low in the sky for you. It's farther away and you're cold. That's how seasons work. On a ball, it's ridiculous. Did you know that the helio-nonsensical model, the sun is 3.5 million miles closer to us in December than it is in June?
Really? That is according to textbooks. That is
according to the globe model. It's 3.5 million miles closer. But the globers will go, well, 3.5 million miles over 93 million miles. That's only like 2.5%. You wouldn't even notice that. It's the tilt that matters, right? They tell us, if my microphone is the sun,
okay,
right? You got the sun. Here's the sun, right? And where's America? It's right here. So if I tilt, and then you can see through America Canada because it's green, but whatever. I tilt it towards it. We have direct sun rays, and then we're tilted away. The sun rays spread out. That's what we're told. We're told that because of the angle to the ball, right? But here's the thing. If you tilt the ball this way, or you tilt the ball this way, or any way, it's still a tilt, okay?
Right.
So in June, when the sun is farther away, here on, where we're on the water here, I could watch the sun appear on the horizon, and immediately I could feel the heat on my face. Immediately. It's like, wow, it's warm. It's nice. And within 10 minutes, I could take my shirt off and it's like super warm, right? In the heliocentric model, that is the most farthest tilted we could be. And the farthest the sun is, it should be arctically freezing every morning in June. And then in December, I could wait until noon when the sun is at its highest point for the day. And I could look up at the sun and I can't even feel the heat on my face. And that's a much more direct angle and it's closer.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
Seasons make zero sense on a globe. Plus, the globe is scientifically impossible. High pressure and adjacent to a vacuum. All nonsense. All nonsense.
Man.
All right.
Okay.
So where are we going?
Where are we going? With that helps a lot because winter is irritating. Because the sun's always kind of at an angle, and that kind of makes
it. It's at an angle because it's far away. It's because it's far away, right? And you could go out and do this yourself. Go out if you have a nice long straight street with street lights, and you're standing under one. That's your summer sun underneath this street light. Oops, that's not it. You're underneath this street light. You're standing under here, and then there's your winter sun way over here, and it would be low in the sky. Right? Here's the sun. It just moves away. Okay. So it moves away during the day and during the season. Farther away it is, the lower it is in the sky. So when it's far away, the Earth, it's circling around the Earth. And when it comes into your view, it rises and goes lower. But because it's far away, it rises low, right? But then when it's over here, it rises high.
Okay, make sure I understand. So in your example there, the street lights, that's an actual street. The further away from me, the lower it looks like the light is until eventually they kind of disappear into the ground. But that's based on the distance and the angle. The bottom picture, those are just individual screenshots of the sun.
That's the sun just during the day. But if I did it over the year, it would show the analemma. That's a whole other thing. Let me show you an experiment I did. This is called my flat Earth kitchen. So this is a celestial view of the sun. So this line is level. I showed that it's level. Excuse me. And I'm moving the sun across it. Okay. And we have a celestial view. That means we're up at the height of the sun. Now, this could be mountains, a city skyline, or just the atmospheric deck of opacity. I never go below it. I'm always above it, and this line is level. Now, I have a terrestrial camera on the other end of the counter watching the same thing. And when we look at it, is this line level? Is it going down? And you'd be like, well, it sure looks like it's going down about 45 degrees. And I go, is this sun going below this thing that looks like it's at my eye level? Okay, this is like that's higher than the counter. We saw it, and now I zoom in. Look at this line. This is a level line?
And that was the same string, same demonstration. There's two camera angles.
It's the exact same thing. Now look, this is a real sunset. This is my sunset. What is the sun going behind here? Is this mountains? Is it the atmospheric deck of opacity? If I zoomed out of that picture, that line where the sun is setting and the water would merge together, and it would look like it's the same thing. Okay. It looks like it's the same thing. That's called terrestrial perspective. What did you miss the class that day on terrestrial perspective? Okay.
I must have.
They must have.
That is a great demonstration. I love your flat Earth kitchen. That looks nice.
So here's another thing. I'm going to show you another view of the sun, which makes absolutely no people. Oh, I've never seen a sunset like that, right? And here's one in Afghanistan. Okay, a soldier took this, and it's a time lapse, and there's no humidity. It's a clear day. There's no atmospheric humidity. Nothing in the distance that's too high, and we're just watching the sun going away. It's going away, going away. Now it's getting lower due to perspective, and eventually it's going to go behind the atmospheric deck, or maybe those are mountains, can't really tell, but it's getting smaller and smaller. It's going away. And flat earthers, globalers go, why does your sun get smaller and smaller? Well, it does under certain conditions. But when you're here over the water, we got mountains, it looks like it's dropping behind it. The top of a mountain, a tall mountain, just 20, 30 miles away, looks like it's at eye level, but it's really up there. Okay. And why do I have Paul McCartney on here? He's singing a song. The fool on the hill sees the sun going down, but the eyes in his head see the world spinning round. Beatles knew. They didn't write any of their own music, by the way, just so you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, wait a minute. We're going to go a little long. Is that okay?
Dude, if I got you, so I just want to get everything I can, because this is so fun to me. Most people, all they can talk about is, I don't know, what they're going to watch on TV that night, or just, something else that matters. This is actually incredibly interesting. So, Flyover family, I hope you're enjoying this too. It's kind of worked my way down my list. Well, we have this process here of the sun and the seasons. Let's talk about hemispheres. Because there's some things that have always bugged me about the hemisphere thing. We used to do a lot of traveling. We'd be in Brazil. We'd do it's public speaking, and we were in a lot of places. You can't, unless it's changed. This was my big question. I think we had this first time we talked, and I can't remember exactly how you frame it, but I've always had this question. You can't really fly from like Australia directly to Sao Paulo, Brazil, even though that would be the best way to get there on a globe. You can't go.
The best way would just be right across the bottom, right over Antarctica, right. But you're not allowed to disturb the penguins. So you have to go around. Okay.
And the way I understand this, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, because this isn't, again, my field of expertise, but you can't fly somewhere on the southern hemisphere to somewhere else on the southern hemisphere without going into the northern hemisphere. But if you're flying in the northern hemisphere, you never go to the southern hemisphere to get to somewhere else in the northern hemisphere. Am I saying that right?
Let me say it slightly different. You got your equator around the middle, so everything above it's the north and everything below it's the south. Now, let's say how many airports are there above the equator in the north? I don't know, 10,000, whatever number of airports. So you throw all the airports into a bingo machine and you pick out any two airports. Doesn't matter where they are. Doesn't matter if they're next to each other. Doesn't matter if one's over here and the other one's over here. Okay. And then you say, what's the flight route to go from one to the other? And every single flight route will never cross the equator. No sense to going down and then back up. That makes no sense. Well, that's logical and it's truth. No northern flight to a northern airport to any other northern airport ever goes below the equator. Well, if the Earth is a globe, there's some symmetry to that. No southern airport to any other southern airport would ever go into the north, but that's not the case. Okay. That's not the case at all. And so why is that? Well, it's because the Earth is flat. Let me show you some examples of some flights. We recently had the World Cup. And so they're in Doha. They're leaving on their own chartered plane. They don't have to go pick up other passengers. They don't have to do anything. They leave. They go to Rome for more fuel. And then they go from Rome to Buenos Aires. Well, why didn't they just go from Doha to Buenos Aires? It's about the same distance. Well, the reason is because Doha is here on a flat Earth map. They stop for fuel here because you can't get fuel here in the middle of the ocean. And then they continued all the way down. It's a straight line. Let's just say that's a coincidence. Maybe we can find something else. Okay. Here's a flight from Auckland to Cape Town. Okay. Well, it should just be able to go from Auckland, New Zealand, right over here, right across. So let's go around. We don't want to disturb the penguins. Remember Antarctic Treaty. We'll get to that if you want. Yep. That's the shortest route, but they go all the way up across the equator into the north. They stop in Dubai and they go to Cape Town. That's a straight path. This if you show that on an Earth, it goes way up and over the ball and way back down. Okay. And people say, well, they have to stop and pick up other passengers. Then you see something like this, California to the UK, and it's taking, this is the great circle route, over Newfoundland and Greenland, and it goes over. But if you draw a straight line on a flat Earth map, Newfoundland, Greenland, UK. Airplanes fly straight and level over the Earth plane.
That's one of the most compelling things for me in how does this work? Because
let me ask you that.
That's so practical.
So you're in Germany. So you're up here, okay? And you're on a plane. So I put Germany at the top of the world. And you look that way, right on the horizon, and you see some stars. Okay? You see some stars on the horizon. So now if you flew down to the equator, that star on the horizon is now over your head, right? Because you dove down, right? So if the star is here, and I can't hold. So I'm looking at the star. You're the star, okay? So you're on my horizon. But if I go here, well, you're now over my head because my head is the top of my hand, right? Makes sense? Okay. So this is a plane going from Germany to Brazil, right? And it's doing a time lapse. Now, these stars should be processing all the way up over his head, but they're not. They're just doing their little movement. So this is reality. Now, this is what Google Earth says it would look like. These stars are rising up as you're diving over the Earth. They're rising up. This is what Google Earth, the program run by Google, the good guys, they're the good guys. Don't be evil. Okay? That's what they used to say. All right? And this is reality. This is actual reality. Which one are you going to believe? Reality or Google Earth?
Well, and Google Earth is sort of presented as reality, because they got a picture of
Google Earth.
They got a picture of your driveway on there. I mean, it's all obviously these are all based on satellite photos. I mean, that's how it's presented.
It's a cartoon. Yeah, Google Earth is literally a cartoon. Let's look at some emergency landings, okay?
Yes.
So sometimes on a flight, people die suddenly. It's been happening a lot lately, but let's just say they died suddenly, okay? And so here's a flight from New York to Hawaii. About here, there was an emergency, so they flew like over 1,000 miles out of the way and landed in Seattle. And they got there really fast. Like, wait a minute, that should take 2 hours to get there. They got there in like 15 minutes. Well, New York, Seattle, right on its flight path, Hawaii, straight line. Okay? Emergency landings are destroying the globe. Let's look at another one. I want to look at a bunch of these. Okay?
Yeah, because for me, that is a compelling thing because it's actually documented. This is the flight number. This is the day. This is what happened. This is the situation.
I'm going to tell people, don't believe anything I tell you. Don't believe anything. Go verify it yourself. I'm going to show you where to get this stuff. By the way, on my website, this book, 16 Emergency Landings, there's a link right there. It's a free PDF online, or you can buy the coffee table book. It's a great coffee table book. Okay? I'm not trying to sell you a book. I don't make anything off of it. It's a great channel, Flat Earth Banjo. He puts out great work. I love the book because I leave it on my coffee table. Somebody comes over that's not a flat earther, they pick it up. I'll be like, all right, I'm not going to say anything. Boom, they become flat earthers. It's amazing. It's literally like, it's got like anthrax on it. You touch it, you're infected. Okay? We'll call it the flat earth anthrax. All right? Emergency. Here, 1,500 miles out of the way to Moscow. Take 3 hours to get there. They got there in no time. What? Where is it? Look, Moscow's right on the flight route. Again, must be a coincidence, okay? Must be a coincidence. Here's one, Dallas to Beijing, okay? Dallas to Beijing, or where'd they go? Dallas to Beijing. They had an emergency. They went to Calgary, okay? Well, that's way out of the way, right? No, it's not. It's right on the flight route. It's right there. How many times does this need to happen for people to understand that, we don't live on a spinning, ridiculous, scientifically impossible ball? Here's one, New York to Auckland, New Zealand. Right here, they had an emergency. Well, their destination's right here. Or Fiji is about the same distance out of the way, where do you think they went? They went to Fiji. Why is that? Why did they go to Fiji? Because New York, emergency, Fiji, it's right there. Right there on the flight route. Zoom in. Flight route. It's right there. How many times? Okay.
Walk through that scenario one more time and do it in a way. If somebody's on the treadmill and they're not looking at the screen real closely, walk through that scenario. Okay. People get up, they get dressed, they shave, they do one other thing. They get on a plane and they're in New York. Where are they headed? Yep. And this is a real scenario.
They're heading to Auckland, New Zealand. Let's just say this is 1,000 miles. Let me think. Is that about 1,000 miles? It's about 1,000 miles before they're there. 1,000 miles. So 2 more hours in the trip. 2 more hours. There's an emergency. Plane's got to land. Someone's having a baby. Somebody died. Pilot's having a heart attack. Who knows? Okay. And they need to land. Well, they went all the way over to Fiji, which is kind of equally as far. That's up almost 1,000 miles also. And they got there impossibly fast. Well, maybe they weren't, maybe they were flying off course. Maybe they were flying faster. You can make up excuses all you want. But when you look at it on a flat earth map, they were heading towards their destination, right? On a stationary earth. And Fiji was directly in their flight path. Directly in their flight path. Okay.
Man.
Let's take a little side pivot here for a second. Okay. Excuse me. All right. So the earth is spinning at once a day. It's moving fast. So right here we have a flight that's taking off and it wants to go to this destination, this red dot. Okay. So it's going from the blue dot to the red dot. So the pilot sets his destination and going, but the earth is spinning. So if the earth was stationary, he could fly from there to there. If the earth is spinning, he has to take this route, this blue route. And every time he adjusts his setting, the location spins a little farther to the east. And so he has to keep turning, adjust. Now he's chasing and he ends up at the red dot. Now, if the earth was spinning, you'd say, well, that's like skeet shooting, right? It's like, okay, you know what? My destination's over here, but I'm going to head this way in a straight line and the destination's going to spin. It's going to spin right to my location. So bam, just like skeet shooting, you shoot and it flies and then you land right there. Okay. All of this is scientifically impossible. Airplanes fly straight and level over a stationary Earth plane. People, the Globers say, oh, you guys don't have a model. You don't have a model. And as a matter of fact, we kind of do have a model, right? Earth is level. It's not moving. It's stationary. Horizontal is horizontal. Vertical is vertical. Okay. And NASA, and we'll forget NASA, the FAA, on all of their experiments and aircraft design, they say in their documents, they say, we assume the Earth to be a level, non-rotating plane for this demonstration, for this experiment, for this, test. A level, non-rotating plane. Where does globe come into level? Spinning globe in a space vacuum come into level, non-rotating plane? Where?
That's in like flight manuals or in their.
It's in their documents, right? They're all over the place. And we have tons of videos showing them, and you can look them up yourself.
Okay.
Okay, last one, and then you go. Okay, so this one is this one's my favorite because this one hits home. Hong Kong, it was going to the UK, had to stop in Germany because this is a 12-hour flight, and 4 hours into the flight, a family's traveling together, Dave. Mother, small children, father, and the mother dies suddenly, dead in her seat. She's dead. 4 hours into the flight, so she's about here. There's probably 50 suitable airports that they could have landed at, but they flew for 8 more hours. Dead mom, sitting next to the children on a full flight for 8 hours. Could you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine? I always make the joke, which is it's just a joke. Could you imagine sitting next to your mother for 8 hours, let alone dead? Okay, right? That's a joke. I love my mother. Yeah, I love it. Scarred for life. So my thing is, well, why didn't they just finish the last hour of the flight and get over to the UK? Okay, why did they stop there? And the reason is because it's not where they were. 4 hours into the flight, they were over Russia. They're over Russia. Two things. in today's political climate, you can't land in Russia where Russia would go, oh, please let us help. Let us be the good guys, because that's what they would do. Oh, now, wait a minute. Russia's the good guys? This could initiate peace. Okay, we can't let this happen. And the other thing is, people will be like, why are we flying over Russia? People think that we're not allowed to fly over Russia. Flights fly over Russia every single second of every single day. Okay? But they don't tell you you're over Russia. You're over Russia.
So how do they overcome the idea of, there's the little black boxes on flights that survive crashes. There's GPS on them. I've seen
GPS is run by NASA. NASA controls all of the international flights in the world. NASA, GPS tells you where they want you to believe that you are, right? They want you to believe where you are. So Dave, check this out. So I know we're all over the place, and I know I'm screwing you up a little bit, but I got to show you this.
This
okay?
is fun.
So what if the world was set up like this? Oops, that's not what I want to show you. Get rid of that.
Bonus material.
Yeah, bonus. So this is the world. We live here in America, South America, Africa, Australia. So we live here. This around us is Antarctica, this ring. Okay. And then beyond Antarctica are more oceans and more land, extra territory. If somebody lived in this outer area on the extra terra and they came to visit us in this inner area, what might you call them?
Extraterrestrial.
From where?
From
outer space.
Outer space.
Outer space.
Okay.
So what if now again, we do not need to speculate what's beyond the shoreline of Antarctica to prove the Earth is flat. We've already proven it, and I have a million experiments that will prove there is no curvature, then we're not spinning. Everything proves that we're on a flat Earth. But what is beyond Antarctica? I love to speculate about it, and there's a preponderance of evidence, old books, old religions, old stories, all sorts of stuff about land beyond Antarctica, civilizations beyond Antarctica, advanced civilizations. I personally believe that there is more land than other civilizations, and I believe that there are people that rule this world, that rule the puppets that we call our leaders, that are in lands that we're unaware of. Okay, whether they're right out here or even farther out. So here is a map. Whoops, I just took myself off. Hold on one second. I am going backwards here. All right, so here is another map. Now we live in this pond.
Okay.
This is our little pond right here.
All right, what in the world is this?
Okay, so imagine. I should have done this first. Let's shrink the world down to a lake that's 100 miles around in Kansas. It's 100 miles across. Okay. And we got islands, and those are all the continents. And at the very center of the lake is the North Pole. Okay. And so you can get your compass out, and it'll always point to the center of the magnetic North Pole. And if you go east or west, you go directly around the center, equidistant from it. So you can leave one island, follow 90 degrees all the way around that magnet, and 90 degrees, and you're right back to where you started from. You just circumnavigated the lake
by using my compass, because the compass is pointing to the island in the middle of the lake. Right.
So on a flat Earth, east and west are circles. Well, guess what? On a globe Earth, east and west are circles. Okay. So on a globe Earth, where's my?
Well, it's kind of just like you had earlier with the clock spinning.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. But I'll show you an example. Here's a magnet, and I got a compass. The needle's pointing towards the north. I'm trying to push it west, and I have to keep turning. So west is a circle, but it's the same on a globe. West is a circle, and in the north, you always have to correct to the north. And on a globe in the south, you'd have to correct to the south. Okay? What do I mean by correct? I'm trying to push it in a straight line. I can't, because the needle has to point. So now I'm going east. 90 degrees east will take me right back to where I started from. Okay? So if I tried to dead reckon, which means I'm going to head east and I'm not going to turn my steering wheel. I'm going to close my eyes and not look at the compass. So here is a west. So here's a west. And as I start going, I'm closing my eyes, not looking at the compass. I'm heading south. South is every direction away from the center. Every direction away from north is south. Makes perfect sense. It's the same on a globe. Okay. But if I try to go south is this way, I should pop up over here. If I try to go south from Santiago, I should end up in Australia.
Right.
But nobody has ever done that, David. Billions of people have circumnavigated the world east and west, right? Nobody has ever gone north. I'm going north, 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 north. And as soon as I pass the North Pole, compass does a 180 and I'm heading south, even though I'm heading in the same direction. Every straight line is south. Okay.
Now, do compasses work that way in practicality? If I were to
Absolutely.
go to northern Canada, does my compass operate differently than if I'm in Brazil?
Yes, because the farther south you are, the less your compass works. Because on a ball, we have a magnetic core, a multimagnetic core, another joke, and we have a North Pole and South Pole.
Okay.
So every compass in the south should point to the South Pole. No compass points to the South Pole. They all point to the north, and when you get out towards Antarctica, compasses stop working. You know why? Too far away from the magnet. They're too far away from the magnetic source of our center. Compasses don't work in the Antarctic because it's too far away. Okay. Right. So
okay, gotcha. So let's go back.
So
to
I'm gonna go back to this now. But wait, but I got to show you one more thing. We're in the center here. So inside the Tropic of Cancer, we're in the center. So we'll call that area the Arctic area. And what is it? If we're in the inside that inner yellow line, what is the sun doing? It's arcing around us, right? It's arcing around us, yes?
Yep.
So if you're in the Arctic area, the Arctic, it's arcing, tick-tock, tick-tock. Now, if you are out here in the southern, outside of the Tropic of Capricorn, is the sun arcing around us? No, it's coming towards and away. Towards and away. It's Antarctic. King. It's the Antarctic.
Wow. Okay. All the way around. And so
yeah.
I don't want to jump into something I'm not ready for, but that explained. I got Antarctica on here as well, obviously. But let's finish this diagram here because I don't completely understand this one. It looks like a really bad piece of needlework.
So we're on our lake in Kansas, right? And so we sail around the lake, and now we sail south away from the center. We get to the shoreline. We step up onto the land that's higher. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. It's the land that surrounds and holds in our oceans. Water, large bodies of water need a container. And then we step up onto Kansas, we'll call it Antarctica, and we start walking away from the lake. And let's say we walk a mile, 2 miles, 10 miles, which could be hundreds and hundreds of miles in scale. And then all of a sudden, we can't see the lake anymore. But all of a sudden, we come to another lake. And it has its own little sun and its own islands. We get on a boat, we sail around there. It's another world. So here's our world. Here's the lands of Mars, and here's the lands of Venus, and here's the lands of the Anunnaki, and here's Lemuria, and here, right? So you have all of these other lands. Okay. So now watch this. How do they hide this from you? Okay. So here we have our map. And we say, this is the map of the world. And we're going to just draw around the United States and part of South America. And then we get rid of the rest of the map. And then we wrap it around the globe. And we teach everybody, this is where you live. There's only North America and South America and Mexico. And that's all there is. Okay. How would you know?
That is
right?
A great graphic.
So hold on. Now, what if the world is an extended plane and we live right here in the center of this pond? Here's our world right here. Okay. And we do the same thing. The controller said, you know what? Let's not let them know. Cut it out, wrap it around a globe. And we say, not only is this all there is, you're not allowed to explore south. You're not allowed to explore south. This is a prison for your mind. Okay. This is a prison that encapsulates you in the matrix.
Wow.
It's a prison for your mind. It limits who you are. It limits your thoughts. Dave, you know it as well as anybody else, if not better. Your thoughts create your reality.
Yeah.
Everything you have in your life, you created this amazing studio and your podcast and everything, right? You create here's the biggest conspiracy in the world. The world is conspiring to give you everything that you think. That's why they show you horror movies and news and nonsense, because they want you thinking what they want. It's conspiring to deliver you the reality that you are thinking. Okay?
Well, once an idea is there, have you seen that movie? And it's probably older. It might have been in the early 2000s, where a bunch of rich people hated the way the world was going, and so they basically left it and they sectioned off a big chunk of land, like 1,000 acres or something like that, and they raised their kids, telling them that they were like in the 1600s.
Oh yeah.
The Village.
The Village.
The Village. Yeah, The Village.
Has
Very
a bunch
good.
of famous actors in it. It's a big mainstream movie.
Absolutely.
It's kind
Absolutely.
of like that, but like they didn't question all. Then at the end, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but it's like 20 years old. If you've not seen it, then bad on you. Eventually, they find out that they're in a controlled environment.
The Antarctic Treaty doesn't allow people don't know what it is. Again, on the app, frequently asked questions, hit Antarctica and watch Sorry, Antarctica's Closed. Then you'll understand how this treaty works. Think about this. In the 1940s and 50s, Admiral Byrd went out, flew over Antarctica, said there's land bigger than the United States, filled with resources, no people on there. It's just free for the taking. And then with all of the countries at war and going on and everyone fighting over resources, all of a sudden 12 of the biggest countries in the world sign it, saying nobody can go to Antarctica, and the rest of the countries signed on afterwards. Right? Nobody can go to Antarctica. It's the longest standing treaty. There's tons of resources there. You're not displacing anybody. We can't go there because we have to protect the ice and the penguins. Okay.
But what about people that go there on cruises and things like that? Because I've seen on Facebook and people got selfie with the penguins and all that.
Yeah. So they take you from Santiago to that little tip, and they bring you to an island called Deception Island, Giant Island.
Is it really called
right
that?
next to and it's right next to Rothschild Island. Okay, and they show you some stuff, but nobody is allowed to explore. And the prices, the trip prices are so overpriced it cuts most people out. There's 100 different companies, David, selling these trips, but they're all run by the same company. It's all 100 shell companies selling the same thing. Okay, so it's all controlled by one guy. It's by the Antarctic Commission. Okay, and if you go there, even if you get a job there, first we had a plumber that worked there for a year. He said, when I was interviewing for the job, they asked me all sorts of questions, not about Antarctica, about my beliefs, my religious beliefs, my, what I was into. And they don't want people down there that are critical thinkers. They needed a plumber, right? And he was there for a year, but always busy. No one that goes there for these jobs has time to go explore. And even if they do, they're not allowed to. You're not allowed to explore the outer lands, the southern area. Okay? You're not allowed to explore it. Why is that? Why is the United Nations map a flat Earth map? Why is the World Meteorological Organization a flat Earth map? Why is the International Civil Aviation, right? So you got these, and then you have the flat Earth map. You got all four, right? They're like, yeah, we're good, and you guys are crazy.
Huh.
Okay?
That is interesting.
Yeah.
And then what is the name of that map?
It's called the Gleason's map, and again, it's on the app, and there's links to it. Here's the new United Nations in Africa. Weird, see a lot of sixes in there. Okay, but what do they got? What is this? Right, Dave? If I forget the name of the museum in California, not the Guggenheim, the Getty Museum. You look at Google Earth, they got a flat Earth garden there, and they literally have the Summers Gate, which is an opening where it goes out to these outer lands. It's right there in front of us. It's amazing stuff. Okay, but it's the Gleason's map. Okay. Gleason's map. This is the Gleason's map.
So people can get to Antarctica from anywhere, but is it the same all the way around? Is there certain what do we know about? There are places that are more accessible, because I kind of picture it where you go eventually run into ice is so thick you can't cut through it, and it's just you just can't go there it's not possible.
So you can get there from Santiago. That's where everyone goes from. There's also another base from New Zealand over here. Okay, doesn't mean that they're on the bottom of a ball across a continent. There's a base over here. There's a base over here. There might be a couple other bases. We don't know what's here. Is this a solid frozen ice? Maybe, maybe not. Was it always? No. They tell us Antarctica used to have tropical vegetation on it and all sorts of stuff. So we don't know, because you're not allowed out here. You're not allowed out here.
Mark Cuban couldn't buy a flight and go. Or
no. I think those the planes that disappeared, the Malaysian planes, right? I think that they may have tried to make a break for it to get to the outer lands, and maybe they made it, maybe they didn't. I don't know. Yeah, because there's interesting people on those flights too, right? And there's books. I want you to read that in the book section. Go find the Iron Republic. Get that book, the Iron Republic. It's about a politician in New York that got fed up, sold everything, got a ship, went to Antarctica, found an opening, ended up lost at sea, found land, saw a city. They came out and they're like, oh, well, this is the Iron Republic. He's like, well, where's that? And they're like, well, it's on the other side of the ice wall, about the same distance as the United States. And the guy ended up living there for 10 years, got married. And then he said there was flat screen televisions and screens and floating cars and all sorts of technology. This was written in the 1800s. Okay, the late 1800s. It's published in 1901 in Florida Magazine. Okay, again,
wow.
Whether it's true or not, it rings true to me. Doesn't matter because they're talking about more land beyond Antarctica, right? Watch my interview with Ruth. Okay, it's in the next level. 102-year-old woman talking to her about the World's Fair is another bottomless rabbit hole. And she said that she was taught in public school in Connecticut that the earth was flat when she was a kid. Right? We're talking, wait a minute, it's been since 2,000 years. So let me show you this. So this is an old map that was found in a Buddhist temple, and it was published in Hawaii in 1910, I think, in a magazine or Florida, a newspaper. And it showed like 30 or 40 other continents out here. Okay. So keeping that in mind, we went over and we checked out, some guys were looking at, cargo ship tracking website. And it shows you all the cargo ships in the world. Okay. It shows you where they are. You click on them, it gives you all the information, where they're from, what's on the ship, what the port it's going to, all the information. But then they saw a line of cargo ships 2, 3, 4, 500 miles inside of the shoreline of Antarctica. How could you have a ship? And he's like, well, what are these? And he clicked on it and it gave you very little information. It gave you, it said the size of the ship, 580 meters long, 80 meters wide, which is a gigantic ship. All right, gigantic. And that's all it said. And it said, and it only had to where it was registered. It was registered in Kiribati. So where's Kiribati? In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, the South Pacific. Can't even find it. I had to put a pin on it. Okay. Zoom in, and it's literally a sandbar, Dave. Okay. A sandbar, right? But United States, China, everyone's saying that this sandbar is the most important trade route for the world. Wait a minute. Why does a giant ship need to stop at Kiribati? What do they have there? By the way, this is all uninhabited. They only inhabit this little part of the sandbar over here. Okay.
How big is this in perspective?
This is nothing. It's so small. I don't know. Is it 30 miles, 20 miles, 10 miles? I don't know. You know what? That's a good question. I should measure it. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's tiny. Okay. It's so small you can't see it until you zoom way, way in. Go on Google Earth, type in Kiribati, and it'll bring you like, I don't see it. You have to zoom in, and all of a sudden it'll show itself.
Can you spell that, Dave?
Kiribiti. Kiribati. Okay. Kirb. Is that? I can't see it. I think that's it.
Is it BATI?
Kirbati. Yes. Kirbati. Okay. So another quick little side note. Kiribati, there's a Captain Cook Hotel. Captain Cook is the guy that took him navigate, 13,000 miles around. Took him 3.5 years. He went over 68,000 miles. Equator's 24,000 miles. He went around the bottom part of the Earth and he went 68,000 miles. Sounds to me like he went around the flat Earth, okay, which is bigger than this little make-believe cartoon continent at the bottom of the ball. There's a whole bunch of other things that with Kiribati where they did nuclear testing there. They don't want people going to Kiribati. But here's my my thought on Kiribati. Excuse me. What if it is an important trade route to the outer lands? What if they were going out here and trading computer chips, tuna fish, children? Who knows? Okay. This is an important trade route. It is because they're going out here. Here's the question, whether it's happening or not. If it was happening, how would you know? You never even heard of Kiribati.
Right.
How would you know?
Well, and if this scenario is not even possible, that makes it pretty easy to do undetected.
Well, if in your mind, your mind, you live on a globe. There's nothing else to discover, Truman. Remember that? I want to be an explorer. There's nothing else to discover, right? Well, they have us trapped in a ball. If they put humans and say, oh, by the way, there's more land out there, but you can't go beyond Antarctica, there'll be a revolution. People are like, no matter how big of a fence you put a human in, they want to know what's on the other side of that fence, no matter how big, right?
Sure.
So they put us in a prison for our mind. That's the globe. We've done it. And then they show us documentaries about Antarctica and the North Pole, how it's so cold there that that when I was a kid in school, they showed us these explorers that went to the North Pole, and literally they got colder and colder, and the dogs started freezing to death, and they're running out of food, and their fingers are falling off, and they're getting gangrene. But somehow the cameras still work, and the cameraman's not complaining, right? And then they show the GPS. They're like 10, 9, 10 feet. We're there, yay! And now it's dark, it's snowing, it's 40 degrees below zero, it's blowing 30 miles an hour, and that's the end of the video. I'm like, wait a minute. How are they going to make it back? It's going to be an equally tough trip getting back, right? But they never tell us that. Okay. What that movie does is it tells every kid, you never want to go to the North Pole. Okay. And then they did the same thing in the South. Flat Earther just reached out to me the other day, said, after watching the Magellan or whoever went to the South Pole, supposedly, he says, I don't believe anyone's been there because it's just too harsh. Well, that's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that it's too harsh. But when Captain Cook went out there, he said he found warmer lands. Warmer lands don't make sense on a ball. They make sense if on that little pond map, if we're near another world, right? If we're near another pond, right? Like if you went south, maybe you're getting towards another sun, right?
Yeah,
right.
In that theory. I mean, that's fascinating to talk to. It helps reconcile. Like, I'm not personally whether I felt like we're on a globe or not, and there's other planets. I've never been an alien guy, but if there was this scenario, and there are things, people got drawings or sightings, and people make claims and this kind of stuff. So it's like, well, maybe two things can be true at the same time, and they're describing, it's like the expression of like two blind guys describing an elephant, and they're just on different sides of it. They could possibly both be right and just.
Right. So, and it all depends on how you see something. I always say, what if we had a craft, that anti-gravitic craft, which they're hiding from us, free energy craft, and we took a globe believer and a flat earther on the craft, and it took off and it went up into the sky? What would they see? Right? And we went to one of the other pieces of the plane and one of the other ponds. What do you call a piece of a plane, David? A planet.
Okay.
A planet. So each pond is its own planet. It occupies its own piece of the plane.
All right.
Planet, plane with a T. Okay. So when you back off, so now we have our pond and we have our small local light, which lights up part of the pond, and then it's dark. The other part, when the sun's over China, it's dark here in the U.S. because that light can't travel through the atmosphere. So we have a dark part of the pond and a lit part of the pond. And let's pretend the whole pond is circular, which I believe it is. So here we have the lit part, the sun's here, but anyone over here can't see the sun because it sets below the apparent horizon and the sunlight can't go over there. So as you pull away from this thing, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And what happens to lights in the distance? When you go past a light in the distance, it gets smaller and smaller and it becomes spherical. So this is reversed. This could be, I could tell you it's the sun. I could tell you it's the moon. I could tell you it's a planet, right? I could tell you it's a sphere, and then you could just believe me, but you wouldn't know, right? But when we bring it forward, we find out it's a train and it's not spherical at all. Okay. Everything in the distance turns into a sphere. That's how our eyes work. Okay.
Now that it kind of explains some things.
Yeah. So the flat earther would say, okay, I pull up the light on the earth It looks like it literally, I could see it just getting smaller and smaller. It turns into a little star. And then I look across the darkness and I see another small star. And then as I get closer, I say, oh, I can see that star is lighting up something. And it's lighting up a section of their pond. And the glober is going to see a sun lighting up a sphere because they're going to imagine a sphere. They're going to imagine a sphere. So both of us on the same thing. The flat earther's like, oh, I see it's flat. And the glober is going to imagine a sphere. When the truth is, we're on a level horizontal plane.
Okay. So when, this kind of ties in here, I think we've seen, like, if you're looking through a telescope or you're in an observatory or something like that, and you see a planet, something else I remembered, I got my 20th or 25th anniversary. I bought my wife the naming rights to a star. If everything you're saying is right, I got kind of ripped off, but it wasn't too bad. It's like the flowers thing.
Well, you know what? Hold on. If they actually name, I actually looked at it. I almost did that too, long ago. There are lights in the sky that we call stars. There's lots of them. Yeah. If they actually picked one, maybe they name one after you. And to me, I think, what are stars? Nobody knows. And I think they have to do with our souls. You're a believer that the earth is a living system, right? The earth is alive, Gaia, the whole thing, right? We're living on this earth. We're part of the earth, and all of the luminaries in the sky are part of this living earth. It all has to do with everything. I used to laugh at astrology, where astrology is the real science. Astronomy is pure pseudoscience. Okay. Well, how can Mercury be in retrograde? What difference does that make, to my life? Because it's, millions and millions and millions of miles away, and it can't even affect the tides. Well, the whole idea of planets, moons affecting tides is another lie, but it's actually a light here in our system. It does affect all of us. Don't ask me how, but the position of all of the luminaries. Why are all of the planets, which used to be called wandering stars, why are they all named after gods? Okay, why is the sun called the sun? It's very, very similar biblically, right? The sun goes out, it dies on December 21st, and it's resurrected on December 25th. Okay, and it rises again. Okay, fascinating.
So what do you see through those observatories and through telescopes and things like that? What are you actually looking at then? If it's not, 100,000 miles away or whatever, and how do like the Saturn, its rings, and those kind of images.
We're Saturn looks spherical to me. I don't know what it is. The lights on my ceiling are spherical. My floor is not. Okay, but when you zoom in on so now these stars that we're looking at are trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of miles away. They're light years away, but somehow we can zoom in on them and make them bigger, and we see these pulsing orbs. We see like these weird things, right?
So what is that right there?
This is the star Sirius. This is what Sirius looks like. NASA will show you a burning ball and show you an animation in the garbage, right? But you can do this. Our consumer optics have outgrown their lives. Go out and get a Nikon P900 or P1000, even better. Zoom in, right? We can zoom in and we can see these things, okay?
Nikon P1000?
P1000, okay? It's a camera. It's a camera. It's got 125 times zoom. It's amazing, right? NASA tells us this is Arcturus. And look at it. This is the sun. This is Arcturus. It's 211 trillion miles away. Remember the analogy we did before, right? It was four. Yep. It was 25 trillion miles away. It's 211 trillion miles away. But this is us filming it with the P900, P1000. How do we zoom in on this thing? Look at this thing. What is this thing? All good questions. It's not this. It's not that. Okay?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Especially if 1 trillion seconds is like, what, 28,000 years or something?
It's 31,000 years. Okay? That's just to show you how big a trillion is. Right? How about this one? This is my favorite. You can see it with your naked eye. There's a star in the sky. You'll see it. It's called Arcturus. And it changes colors constantly. You can see it with your naked eye. Then you get a pair of binoculars, a zoom camera, a telescope, and then this is what you see. Okay? Dave, what is this? I don't know. This could be a thought in your brain. I don't know. Right? This is an entire living system. We are here. Our soul is here to experience this world. I look at it as our soul is a spark of God.
Okay.
And we are here with amnesia to experience the world and understand what it is and help others too. That's our goal here. Our mission here on Earth is to help people see the world and expand the mind of the Creator. And that's what we do. And that's what gives us joy. And there's so many people, there's so many people that are depressed, right? What is depression? Depression is when your soul is trying to speak to your mind, but your mind is too lost in this nonsensical world. It's watching the news. It's lost. Yeah. And there's no communication. Then you're depressed. I've seen Discovery of Flat Earth pull people out of depression, pull people out of drug addiction. Okay, when you're depressed and maybe you start doing drugs, pharmaceutical, prescription drugs, that's probably worse than just doing recreational drugs. But I've seen Flat Earth pull people out of those addictions and depressions.
Well, and you all know Harari and that crowd, what's going on with the global leaders, their solution to mankind for the future is the majority of them we're going to just occupy with drugs and video games. That's what they want
for
humanity. So the further you can break out of that, the more you're taking ownership of your own, mind and soul and those things are not under their control.
They want us in compact cities. They want us disconnected from nature. Nature never lies. Okay. Now, humanity lie. You'll go in nature and go, wow, look at that big rock ridge. That's cool. Volcanic rock. What? No, it's not. It's a branch of a giant cedar tree that was 50 miles around at its base. Okay. Right. Have you looked into the giant trees, Dave?
I've not.
So in the app,
I mean, like the redwood forest.
No, those are weeds. Those are weeds, David. Okay. So in the app, on the web button, scroll down to Mud Floods Tataria. If you click that button, bring food and water, call in sick to work because you're not coming out for a while. And then on the channels that you see there, subscribe to those channels and watch more videos. Okay. And again, they're not making claims. They're showing you evidence. This guy's showing us these rocks, right? This huge ridge of rocks, which we've seen. And he's like, look how they breaks apart. Then he shows us a cedar tree, a current one that's decomposing, and it breaks up the exact same way, right? And then he's looking, look at the rocks, the rings and the rocks, right? And it matches perfectly, right? But so that's pretty damn good evidence right there. Pretty darn good evidence. But you can't say it's 100%. But then he found a spot where the rocks transition back into actual wood, proving that the rocks were wood.
And the rest of it,
proving
like
that entire 10-mile long ridge is the branch of a tree. Okay, these are things that are so big that our minds can't conceive, and they don't work on a ball. They work on an extended plane, Earth. So, and here's the thing. No one's making claims that how did it change? What happened? Who took over? When did it happen? I think there was a massive reset somewhere in the mid to late 1800s. And, we've been reset and we are the inheritors of this post-apocalyptic world. I don't know if I mentioned it when we talked last, but there's a Instagram guy. Write this down. It's all one word.
All right.
I'm the impossible dream. No, sorry. I'm the improbable dreamer. All one word. I'm the improbable dreamer. Subscribe to him. Sit down on the couch. Watch 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 of his videos. And get ready for your mind to go, wow, everything I know about history and geology is wrong.
Is that a YouTube channel?
It's the Instagram.
I'm sorry. You said that.
Instagram. I'm the improbable dreamer. And the guy, he's making no claims. He's showing you what's right under your nose that you've been lied to about. And then you can make up your own mind. It's phenomenal.
Okay, we'll put a link to that down below. Some of you guys, if you're, wherever you're watching it, we'll put the links to as many things as possible down below, as well as you go to Dave's app and those resources are there. I don't know if that specific one is or not. Okay, we got the emergency landings, the hemispheres, seasons. Here's one I had before this concept ever was presented to me: is why are there no photos of Earth from space?
Great question. Why don't you ask NASA?
Because if I go on vacation to Branson, Missouri, I'm going to take a picture.
Let me ask you a question, Dave.
How do we not have a photo of Earth? And then people say, I see them we had Earth Day and all this stuff. And this is one thing I had looked into. They're all cartoons. They're
CGI.
computer, CGI.
They're all cartoons. They're all cartoons. So these are 9 images from NASA. This is the one that was on everyone's iPhone, right? And it's called the Blue Marble. And Robert Simon, a NASA visual artist, in an interview said how he made it in Photoshop. He was given data and he created it. Used Command Z a lot, and he just created it out of Photoshop. But then you say, well, what about the International Space Station? International Space Station will show you this. Oh, look at this. This is cool, right? Wait a minute. Here's another one from them. It's here. What size is the Earth? This is obviously artistry. This is obviously a fisheye lens flying from a balloon or whatever. And it's wrong, right? So what can we measure? Well, here's one. This is the 2012, I think, image. And on Earth here, we can drive across Mexico and Baja and conclude that this is actually 934 miles. We could actually measure this. Okay, great. NASA tells us the diameter, straight line through the Earth, is 7,917 miles. Okay, so now we have our scale. This is 934. I should be able to fit 8.5 of these between these two lines. 8.5 doesn't even fit in this frame. Okay. So this is a painting. It doesn't make any sense. All right. But people want to believe that, that's where they live, but they refuse to think critically about it. Here's another one from NASA. You got Africa. You got, the whole area here. Well, this is the map of the world. And the rest of all of this land has to be on the other side of this ball. Okay. Well, I can't make sense of that. It doesn't make sense. Well, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Okay. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. Right. And people say, well, they didn't have CGI back then. Well, how do you know they didn't have Photoshop, 100 years before they told us about it? Dave, do you think what would be harder to paint? This or the globe?
That.
Right. Okay. So if we look at
for one thing, because those are all things I can verify: a wine glass and a bottle, and I have the dimensions of those things.
You can see the reflection and everything, right? This is a painting admitted by Robert Simon. This is also a painting. This is a photorealistic painting.
Somebody painted that.
This is painted, yeah. Zoom in on it; it's amazing. I think if you Google photorealistic painting, wine glass, wine and cheese, it'll come right up. And then you can see. So again, they're lying about everything. Okay, right?
So why aren't there then? Okay,
why aren't there? Because
why is not one shot from the moon? Just take 5 seconds to turn around and be like, what? Boom, take a picture.
Dave, if you're on an airplane and you're flying into your hometown and you fly over your house and you can see your house, you're sitting next to a stranger. What do you say to the stranger?
Hey, I can see I live right there.
That's my house. That's my house.
That'd be amazing.
You're the first guys on the moon. You're up there. You got your golf clubs. You got your dune buggy, right? You're doing a bunch of stupid nonsense. Wouldn't every other word out of your mouth be, oh my God, look at the Earth. It's directly above us. It's gigantic. It's 6 times bigger than we see the full moon. Okay. You'd be like, oh my God, there's the Earth. Oh my God, there's Africa. Oh my God, there's the United States. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's all you'd be saying.
Mm-hmm.
They never once mentioned the Earth while they were on the moon?
Not once.
Wow. Never said, look at the Earth. Never once, never, ever, ever said, look at the Earth. Okay?
So what about the space shuttle trips? How high are they compared to earlier you showed me a shot from the Red Bull thing. How high did you say that was? Like 72 miles high. How high is that in relationship to the space shuttle? And has the space shuttle ever gotten to a place where you could take a picture of the whole Earth in one shot? Or is it just, the
International Space Station, Neil deGrasse Tyson is now saying that you can't even see the curvature from there, although they show us the curvature all the time. Space station supposedly has a live feed. And so we watch okay, here comes the space station. We go to their live feed and it shows pure clouds, but we're in a blue sky. Okay. They'll never show you a live feed at nighttime because you could oh my God, they just went over the football stadium where the Jets are playing and the Kansas City Royals, whatever. And you would see it. right? Because it's bright, right? Because they could see all these lights supposedly. But wait a minute, they're not the stadiums. It wouldn't sync up, so they never show you live feed at night. And during the day, it doesn't sync up with the actual clouds. They claim it does, but when you go verify it, never does, ever. It's all nonsense. Okay, so the International Space Station is 250 miles up. They tell us 250 miles up, right? This Red Bull only went up 72 miles, right? But it's in the vacuum of space. It doesn't make any sense, right, Dave? When I put air in this balloon, it stretches the balloon out. And if I took that balloon up on an airplane, it would get bigger because it's just a low pressure. And then if I put it into space, it would explode.
Yeah, even if you buy a bag of Doritos, you live in Denver or something, you buy a bag of Doritos, they're like puffed out.
Yeah, and so why doesn't this guy explode? He's in zero pressure. He should blow up like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
And maybe they just have technology in there that's adjusting the pressure with the tubes because he's plugged into the ship. You're making up stories, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, you asked me a question. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what your brain does. Like, well, I don't know. I don't know how my car works. It just, this guy kind of just, the flux capacitor is doing what it's supposed to do. You just kind of like tune out.
So
and so you just give these guys a lot of credit because I don't even know where you'd buy a suit like that. They don't sell those at Costco. It's like, I don't know. You just kind of give them credit.
International Space Station is probably the greatest construction project of all time, and there's zero photos or videos of it being built. Zero. Right? There's just an animation, and they never assembled it on Earth. And the different countries made different modules for it. And when they got up, and then they had to create an adapter because China made a different door and we made a different door, so they had to make an adapter. Never tested any of it. They built it in space. Never filmed any of it. There's no film, no photos, right? It would be the most #1 film thing ever. Now, all of a sudden, China has a space station. They forgot to film it also. And theirs is so bad. But if you find them faking space once, that's enough. But let's look at a couple things. Here is an astronaut, and all of a sudden, what's that?
Getting a bad feed.
We have glitches. Bad feed. Well, the whole thing would disappear, not just his body. Okay, not just his body, right? and then other times we have the colors inverted. Like, what is going on here? Okay, why are colors inverting like that? Okay, the ball turns blue, or face turns blue. Right? This is because they're doing they're using green screens and all sorts of stuff. On the space station, they're playing soccer. Things could break. Watch his head. It goes out of the area and his head disappears. It's hard to see that one.
Can you do that again?
Here it is. Watch his head. His whole top of his head disappeared.
That's weird.
That's a weird one. But let's just go through a few more.
It's like earlier with your globe soccer ball. All of a sudden there's like chunks missing in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're showing they're on the space shuttle and they're approaching the International Space Station. This is supposed to be real. Did you see it? It was just inside. How is it doing that?
Whoa.
That's supposedly the space station, right? This is a little toy model. And anybody that defends that is literally just lying to themselves. Okay. Here's another one. So she's adjusting this window. She's got a rod that goes through that goes to this hatch, right? Somehow the O-rings are holding the air pressure in the vacuum of space. Is she looking at the door or is she looking at a monitor? She's looking at a monitor. Okay. And she's trying to mirror, but her twisting of that knob isn't even matching. And then also, she's the short hair one. They wouldn't let anyone have long hair on the space station. Okay. But this is worse than that. Look at her hair. Look at her face. Let's zoom in. She's got heavy duty, perfect makeup on.
That is a weird
How do you
face.
put makeup on in space? Right? They always talk about conserving washcloths and water. How do you have this much makeup on in space?
And she's supposed to be on the ISS.
Look at her hair. Dave, that's a good hair day, wouldn't you say? Okay? That's a really good hair day. But they don't have showers up there. She's working out 2 hours a day, sweating her ass. Whoops, excuse me. Sweating her rear behind off. You can cut that out if you want. And look at her hair. Look at her makeup. Okay?
that makeup. That
Dave, on my
is-
channel, DITRH, look up I Have to Go to the Bathroom is the name of a video. It shows the ISS bathroom. That alone proves they're not in space. It is the dumbest thing ever. Okay.
And that's your YouTube channel that people can put.
Yeah,
that in?
YouTube channel, DITRH, or Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. The internet,
That's where we are.
the National Buoyancy Lab. You know about this?
I've seen clips of that of them training in the water.
And so they're training in the water, and we're looking at the monitors, and all of a sudden on the monitors we see a green screen. Why do they have a green screen? What could they possibly be doing with a green screen? Why do they have it greened out like that? Right?
No, it insinuates.
It's because they're faking space. They're faking it. Watch Level with Me. There's a whole scene on how they do that. Check this out. Live feed. This is during a live feed. So we got the Dragon capsule right here. And look at its orientation to the Earth. This is from a different feed. So it's parallel and now it's vertical. It's just switching cameras. Okay?
Well, can you pause there 1 second? Hey, can you go back to that, or is this in a loop? Can we look
I
at
can,
that?
I can do it. This one right here?
No, the one just after that where it shows the state there. Okay. Let's talk about that a second. So am I looking at that from a camera on another piece of the space station?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
So, but look at this. This thing is vertical to the horizon. Where could you move that camera to make this edge look parallel with the horizon? There's no place. Above, below, sideways. There's no possible way to get this to look parallel. Okay? But when we just switch live feed camera, it shows it parallel.
Yep. But I'm just thinking of the curvature of the Earth there, because that's the same kind of a shot they'll give you from, a very low flying plane, and compared to this is supposed to be.
The curvature always changes. Right.
250 miles above the
250
ground.
miles.
And that's like the Red Bull dive shot.
And the Red Bull was only 20 miles up.
But it looks like, but I'm saying it looks like the same thing.
The Red Bull. I'll jump over to that in a second.
Remember the guy
Red Bull,
he jumped out the plane? But it looks the Earth looks the same at 250 miles above the Earth as it does in that parachute jump with the Red Bull.
So this is the Red Bull jump. By the way, they had 2 test jumps before that. They used regular cameras and showed a flat horizon. Then they switched to GoPros, and that's what they showed. But look at this. We zoomed in on this land down here and these little rivers and land features. This is all New Mexico. All of this from here to here is all New Mexico. Did New Mexico cover a third of the Earth?
It must. It must be bigger than we think.
There you go. That's my Glover boy right there. Okay. All right. So here's Felix getting in at ground level, and so this line shows the ground level, and here he is at 127,000 feet. Same camera, hasn't moved. Somehow, when he went up 127,000 feet, the horizon did not drop. That doesn't make any sense. The higher you go, the farther you can see. The farther you can see, the lower the horizon would be. Okay.
Wow. I mean, that's something that has to be reconciled. There's no way that they can't.
And whenever you see a curve, clip the curve and tape it on a ball. Okay, tape it onto a globe. This is how big Arizona should be. New Mexico. Sorry, New Mexico. So again, and then Felix, goes out there and he's like, I saw the curvature of the Earth. Now, is Felix a paid shill, or did he actually see the curvature of the Earth? He was wearing a curved goggles, right?
Yeah.
And he was told to mention that he saw the curve of the Earth. So he awkwardly fitted into the conversation, but he might believe it because he expected to see it. He's in where he can't take off his headset, his mask. He's looking through a curve. But the thing is, he's going to see a curved Earth on the ground, right? This is how much the Earth should have dropped, according to Google Earth. Okay, but it didn't drop at all. It didn't drop at all from ground to full altitude.
But the shot that they're selling looks the same at
Both.
72 miles high as it does as 250 miles high as it does as 20 miles high.
Yeah.
Like they're using the same kind of CGI
and
generated footage for every scenario.
Right. It changes, when you look at rocket launches, the rocket launches are absolutely the worst. Where they'll show you where is it, rockets? They'll show you, where is my thing?
Like, I don't know about all of it, and I couldn't explain this to a 10-year-old for sure, but
yeah,
you could convince me of a lot of things before you could convince me that we've been to the moon with the technology they show we did. It doesn't ring true at all.
Right. I mean, the moon landing is incredible, right? From the moon, this is what the sky should look like, but we don't see a single star from the moon. Okay. Well, the aperture wasn't set for that. They'll make excuses up all day long. But here is, check this out. This is, now look, we got the sun is over here because that side of him lit. And so we're going to pan to the right, pan to the right, pan to the right, pan, pan, pan. And now all of a sudden the sun is over.
Whoa.
It turned a little bit. Hold on. It gets worse. And then he's going to go over and pan to the right, pan to the right, pan to the right. And the sun is on the other side now.
How did it move so fast?
It can't. It's because he's on a stage and there's a row of lights, and that's the light. They didn't realize what was going on there. But there's something worse about this. Ready? Check this out. Here he is. Now look at his visor. 1 light, 2 lights, 3, 4 lights. There's 4 lights in his visor. Ready? Let's zoom in a little bit. Here it comes. And watch. You can see the first 2 already. 1, 2. And then when he turns, you're going to see the other 2. There'll be 4 lights. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, could those be a reflection from the person filming?
No.
I'm just trying to think of something like what would they say? What would be the counter argument? Because I already told you how I feel about the moon thing. I think the whole moon thing was like Stanley Kubrick or whatever. I don't know. It's just like, it's so bogus.
It's so stupid. I mean, you look at the lunar rover, right? Look at this. This is an umbrella, right? If you zoom in on this thing, there's duct tape. Look at this, beach chairs. Okay, right? This is ridiculous. There's duct tape on these fenders, right? And this thing was on the lunar on the lander, right?
And Nixon's sitting in his office on a rotary phone talking to him. Perfect.
Right. But look at this. This is the heat shielding. Okay, you zoom in on this. It looks like it's got open gaps and everything. Right. So there's 2 guys in here, golf clubs and a car in this thing. Okay,
and that's a real shot. That's not a replica.
This is the shot from the moon.
That's
right?
a moon shot. Oh man!
Look down here. This is the rocket, a single rocket. So somehow it lands with a single rocket perfectly. And they were worried. The big talk was they didn't know how deep the powder on the moon was, and they were afraid that the rocket was going to blow a hole so deep that the whole thing could fall in and they could all die. That was like part of the drama. But then it landed, and no problem. But if you look underneath, there's no blast crater. There's no blast crater whatsoever, right? It should have blasted.
It didn't just land kaplunk. It was rockets.
It landed with rockets. But now watch this, right? This is them leaving. The thruster is down here, right? Ready? And all of a sudden, it goes boom. Where's it? It left the rocket thruster. So what did it just explode? And it's sending that up, and then it's going to meet. It's gonna just perfectly meet with the orbiter, okay? And they're gonna match up, right? And then who panned up? Did they leave a guy on the moon?
Well, did they have like a GoPro kind of a setting where they could pinpoint it for it to automatically track it?
This was a film camera. You can make up excuses. That's what. I know that you're just kind of shooting around,
yeah,
but
I'm just like, because that's amazing technology now.
Yeah.
That's like everything in the world has gone like this. Our phones, our cars, everything.
Right.
And that they're trying to tell us that they did that stuff with rotary phones.
Dave, this is the suit that, these batteries here can handle 250 degrees Fahrenheit to negative 250 degrees, as they go from day to night, right? And so you're in this. I say, get this old suit, put somebody in it, put them in Death Valley for 3 hours in the summer. Let's see if they live. Okay?
Recreate any of that.
Yeah, they can't. They won't put an astronaut in a vacuum chamber because the one time they tried, before they got all the air out, he passed out and he said his tongue was boiling. Okay? And he almost died, right? Because you can't have somebody you can't put something like that in a vacuum, right? And his suit wasn't airtight, supposedly airtight, but they got a zipper to go to the bathroom. They got a zipper on this thing, okay? That look like an airtight zipper, right? And this is Artemis now. Look at the boots. Look, these are from like LL Bean.
Wow.
Okay. And they want you to believe all of this nonsense. The lie is so big that people have a hard time, accepting it. Like, oh, this is real. Oh, wait a minute. There's Big Bird. Okay. You can fake anything. It's so easy.
The silliness of it, and I'm sure you've seen the clips. I mean, I'm talking to the choir here, but like they're walking and like they fall down and hop back up, in the suits. It's just weird movements,
Look at this weird movement. This is the orbiter coming to meet the lander, right? Look at this. What's going on here? They got guys in green suits holding it, turning it, right? It's absolute nonsense when you go in on the app. Go to the Moon Nonsense button. Tons of videos.
It's called Moon Nonsense.
Yeah, it's called Moon Nonsense. All right.
There's a lot of silliness. Do you have any shots of the guys walking around? And there's one kind of famous one I've seen where they're kind of hopping around and he can't get up, and then he like pops up.
Then all of a sudden he pops up.
Yeah, it's just weird. Oh wow.
Yeah. So this is just
like a music video or something, right?
Yeah. Then we go here. This is the actual footage, right? He fell down. He's like, oh, let me just get up here. Let's see. Up. 1, 2, 3, up. There he goes. Okay. And they're always like jumping and bouncing. In lots of those scenes, they had big giant balloons, like 15-meter wide helium balloons that they're hanging from, and they're kind of moving around.
So
there's a video he featured. He's trying to pick up a hammer that he dropped, and he can't get it. Okay. There's a whistleblower. We had a guy whose father worked for worked for the Army, and he was in charge where they filmed the moon landing. And on his deathbed, the guy laid out this confession, and that's under the Moon Nonsense. The Moon Nonsense, and he showed all of the details and explained it all out. And he said there's only like 15 people that were allowed in that tent, no matter who you were. You weren't allowed in. The president of the United States, I don't think, was allowed in. I forget, but it was. Hubble was allowed in, and Werner von Braun was allowed in, and whatever. There's like a whole
Walt
list
Disney.
of probably Walt Disney. So again, here's the thing: if you believe that we landed on the moon, it's because you never really looked. And if you think you looked and you still believe it, you either have a problem thinking, or you just were shown nonsense and you haven't looked. I discovered the Earth was flat before I found out that the moon landings were fake, because I never looked. But then it took me 10 minutes to look and go, wow, right?
Is there a lot of footage that's been lost, so to speak, of them on the moon and some of that?
Most of it's been lost. The telemetry data is lost. The original video, ready for this? There's like 1,000 reels or some crazy number of reels. And their excuse is, NASA was experiencing budget cuts, so they reused the tape. They taped over their tapes.
No, they did not.
Is that their story?
That's their official story, yes.
Like VHS tapes. Okay, I'm going to tape over, Dallas or something because I'm going to tape the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what they claim they did.
Man, if there's anything that they've got is an unaccounted for budget.
Yeah, $71 million every single day. And what do we get? They say Velcro, but Velcro came around before NASA. They say memory foam, but I think memory foam was here before NASA. It's all nonsense.
Like 3M, blue, Post-it notes, maybe?
No. I'm sorry. $71 million every single day. And they're like, we're going to Mars, we're going to the moon, then we're going to Mars. Why are you going to Mars? Well, what's there? There's no air there. There's nothing there. Okay. Well, we need another place to live in case the Earth dies. How about this? Take care of the Earth. And even if the Earth dies, there's air here, there's water here, there's everything here. Build a dome in Ethiopia. Okay. Put a habitat there. Be a lot easier, a lot cheaper. Okay. It would be 1 billion times cheaper. Okay. 1 billion. Right.
Okay. And what about Elon Musk's car? He had took the convertible around the deal. Is there any loopholes with that?
So SpaceX, you mean this, right? So
yeah.
here's NASA.
I saw that on Facebook. It's pretty legit.
So they're showing. You're being sarcastic, right? Dave, don't trigger me. Okay. All right. So this isn't even up as high as the space shuttle, and it can see the whole Earth. Where the ISS. The ISS is way higher than this, but this is what they showed us. Okay. Right. Where is the planets? Where's the land?
You're too high. You can't see it.
Too high? Well, we can see it from here. How come? And it's a clearer day.
I don't know.
Okay. Man. Right. And then here's an actual scene, right? Look at this. First, why is there no rear view mirror? Don't let you see what's behind them. Okay. This is what they want you to see. This is what they want you to believe is going on. Okay. This thing is cartwheeling on its way to Mars, right? It makes no sense. Look at this, right? You can't see through the wheel well, but in the image, is this the right one? You can see through. Where is it? Is that through the wheel well? Oh yeah, right here. I'm sorry. You can see through and see the Earth.
See the Earth through it.
You can see the Earth through it. And they said that there's nothing changed on this. Nothing changed, right? Absolute and total nonsense.
There was something, I think, in Epic Times just the last few days about the Japanese have a craft landing on the moon. I think unmanned, obviously. It's a device of some sort. In that process, have they taken pictures backwards?
They've done all sorts of stuff, but like if you look at the moon landing, the Chinese moon landing, let me see if I can find it. It's so bad. It's so bad. I should have it, but I don't have it.
It's funny talking to you because you have the receipts on like everything I've ever heard of.
Yeah, there's a lot. I have to find it. Where is it?
Because there's been other attempts on that, and we got a little rover on Mars. It made it out there. It seemed like there should be a photo.
So this will tell you enough. This is Japanese filming the Earth rising. Okay, they're orbiting on their. This is them filming the Earth rise.
Are they doing it in your kitchen?
Maybe they should be. They'd probably come out better.
They broke into Dave's kitchen.
Yeah, and then it's so bad what they show.
It's a CCP. You can't trust them. You go somewhere on a trip, they break into your kitchen, they film an Earth rising.
Right. Absolutely. Again, it's to fake the moon landing, it's very easy. So here's Dustin from his little science channel, and you snap your fingers and look, he's on the moon. Okay. Yay. Dustin's on the moon. Right? Wow. People don't understand how advanced the green screens have become. It's unbelievable how much they can do.
He's doing it without even a suit.
This is the McHold facility that NASA uses. It's a giant green screen place. They film a lot of movies there and stuff. But let me see if let me go forward here a little bit. Yeah. So here's just some stuff that they show us. Oh, look. Like, you don't know what you're seeing, right? This is the space shuttle, right? All of this is presented as real, okay? It's presented as real. The people aren't even in these rooms anymore. Okay. This is what they're showing us as real. How would you know? You wouldn't know.
It takes a lot of faith.
Yeah. And here is I was on we do the show Globebusters on YouTube every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern. I encourage people to go there. We talk about all sorts of things. But using my green screen, I had an idea, and I had my partner Paige do a little scene, and we were making fun of NASA. This is what we were showing, okay? And like we're moving things around, and it's clearly obvious. But then some flat earthers like, oh my God, NASA exposed. This is Karen Nyberg, right? Who's an astronaut, right? And it literally has been going viral for years now. It's been a couple of years. And I keep getting called by PolitiFacts and fact-checking sites. They're like, I heard this is your video. Can you explain? And it's hysterical. It's giving us tons of publicity. But I'll show you what this really looks like on.
So that really is, that's their footage, or that's really her?
No, this is me. This is Paige. This is my studio right here. Okay.
Oh, that's not.
Look, this is Paige. That's me in the green suit.
Oh
okay?
My gosh. Okay.
That's me. Right. but people, but check this out. My budget, $0. Okay. And this is her just joking around. She's joking around how her ponytail's not floating. I could have gone behind her and grabbed her ponytail and done this, and lifted up her ponytail. But I didn't think of it. Okay. And it's basically, I reach over, I grab the Fritos, and then she goes, whoop, and she lets it go. And it floats. Okay. I'm not saying this is how they do it. They're way beyond this. This is just simple. And I fooled flat earthers with this. But if you listen to the audio, you could hear us making a joke. And Bob Nodell, rest in peace, he goes, Paige, you're a far better astronaut than Karen is, than the rest of those fakers.
Wow.
Okay. But this one, I said, give it a little push, right? So she gives a little push. Okay.
That is really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, just your basic weatherman could do a lot of this.
I'm doing all of that.
Yeah.
Hello, look over here. Right? It's so silly what people believe, right? Right. And then like, here, look, this is ISS cupola. Let me put the Earth behind here. Look, I'm on the space station. Look. Oh, look how amazing. Let me look out here. Oh, so cool. Look at that. Wow. Whoa. What's going on?
Wow.
I'm in the cupola. Okay. Like I could have something float by with a green, someone holding something, whatever. There's like,
sure.
But they use augmented reality, right? You know what that is?
Like with the like Oculus kind of goggles, or like that.
Well,
kind
no.
of
They're manipulating things in space. Hold on. Where is it? Where is it? Here's one. So this is Don Pettit, the only astronaut that might believe he actually is in space because his mental ability is very low. He's showing how he made a cup of coffee out of some plastic, but watch the coffee. It gets disconnected, right? This is just a layering issue. Okay. Look at that. It gets disconnected, right?
His coffee went through the cup.
Yeah, it's disconnected. So that shows you nonsense. Then the hits one, Chris Hatfield loves playing his guitar in space. So this guy is in another room. They're in different rooms. He's holding a microphone, and watch what he does with the microphone. He doesn't see where Chris is, and he sticks it in his neck. The microphone's in his neck. Inside his neck. Doesn't miss a beat. They're not even in the same room. Okay?
Wow.
Right? And then, other times things happen. Watch this guy's arm.
Trick.
He moves his arm and it reveals the green screen because the camera just couldn't process it. Whoop. Watch again. He brings it down. Oh, there's the green screen right there. There it is. Green screen.
Wow.
Okay. And then let's see, what's this one? This one, oh yeah, these guys were talking, and way in the distance in the back, this guy goes floating back. I zoom in on it. You can see his harness and the wire. Okay. And then NASA comes, people, the NASA fanboys, like, well, they hang from wires for safety. How do you hang from a wire in zero G? How does you go through that hatchway hanging from a wire? Okay, but the more important part was the guy in the blue is that they're always flipping something around, flipping the microphone, flipping her hat. The script was he's flipping his hat around and he hands it to this guy, but he makes a movement. And the guy thinks he's handing the virtual reality hat, which isn't really there. So watch, there's the hat. He's flipping it around, right? I keep going back and forth, right?
Okay.
So he's flipping it around. I'm going to zoom out, and he's going to take his hand and he's going to make a movement. Watch. He moves his hand. He thinks he's passing him the hat. Ready? Oh, there's the hat. The guy goes, oh, let me take it, put it away. Oops. He didn't realize. And then if you watch this whole clip, the guy's like, and his eyes are like, he's like looking back, doesn't know where to look, and he's stumbling, right? Total screw up. Okay.
Even the shirts kind of look like they got stuff underneath them. It's kind of
oh my god, their pants are always tucked in. They got these big cargo belts. What do you need a belt for in space? Are your pants gonna fall down? There's no gravity. Okay, right? And check this out. This ball is real. It's filled with helium, but this is virtual reality, and she's manipulating it.
Oh my
They actually
goodness.
beamed it in. They actually made this Star Trek beam sound and a beaming noise, and because they're just sticking it in our faces, they want to fascinate kids. Okay, this is how they do it. That's called augmented reality.
Okay.
And they can do it in real time. They can move things around in real time. So they're not even, sometimes they're playing with stuff. Sometimes they're in a zero G plane and they're actually floating, and there's clip after clip after clip. But when they do these live segments on the news, they actually tried years ago. They tried a live segment on a zero G plane where the news was like, we're going to have a rare talk with the people on the space station. And he goes, we have to wait until the satellite's in, and we only have like 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Well, on a zero G plane, they get about 40 seconds of weightlessness. Okay. They get about 40 seconds of weightlessness.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then, good.
No, I've seen those clips and people doing that, even like music videos and things like that on the zero G plane.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that short of a window. Wow.
Yeah. I'm trying to find my, my clip of it. It's really good. Talk while I look for a second.
Okay, well, the two other things I want to get into here before we wrap up, we've gone out into space. We've talked about the Earth. I'd like to go into the Earth a little bit. I got some questions on that, see if you know. And then I do want to talk about the documentary, because I think that's a great next step for people, the Sean Hibbler stuff.
Yep.
He also did this documentary called Fluvid that I think is phenomenal. I think we're working with him. We might even re-release that, because I think his documentary on that process of what we went through the last 2 years and the Carrie Mullis PCR test, all that stuff. He's a phenomenal storyteller with an incredible gift. And he just came out with this, the leveled one this last Saturday. So I'm going to kind of end on that, make sure people know how to get it, how they can find it. They can find his work. But I really want to dig into the Earth itself that we're standing on, because they make a lot of speculations about this planet is full of this and that planet is full of that. And the stuff that I've looked at, it shows them like drilling into the Earth, and they're like, well, this far you're going to find this, and down here you're going to find this, and down here you're going to find that. And like all of it, they were wrong on in that process of what is actually in or under us. So I want to dig into that.
I can't find the video, but basically it showed them all talking, and all of a sudden they all slammed into the wall at the same time.
Oh.
And the camera cut. They're like, oh, so there was a shift in the space station or something happened. But I took the video, I turned it sideways, and then I compared it to the end of a zero G flight where they're going, and then it comes out of zero G and everybody falls at the exact same way. Okay. So literally something happened to the parabolic turn, and they came out of that free fall a couple seconds too early, and it was shown on the news. They've never done a live zero G simulation of zero again. Right.
Wow. And you put those side by side. That's good. Side
by side. Yeah. And it's on the NASA Nonsense link. I got to find out where that is on my. Okay, I have it in here somewhere. But
before we transition to this last topic here and wrap up, make sure people know how to find your app again, where they can find that download. It's Google, Apple, everything.
It's Google and Apple, but on Google there's already a knockoff one by the anti-flat earthers. It's a horrible app, and if you accidentally buy it, please leave them a proper rating. But they stole the name, and it's really horrible. I encourage people to get it, even though I don't want you to pay for it because it's so bad. It's kind of laughable. But mine can be found at flatearthdave.com. If you look on the iPhone, type in Flat Earth, it'll be the number one hit.
Okay.
It's by Blue Water Bay. Just remember that. But if you're unsure, go to flatearthdave.com, click the app at the top. You can't miss it. It'll bring you to your proper app store. Download it. It's $3 one-time charge, right? And if you want to use it as a friend finder and other stuff, feel free to subscribe. It's $11 a year, not a month. Okay, a year.
Wow.
It's like you bought me a margarita and you forgot to tip the bartender.
I also thank you again for your time and energy, and you're very unselfish with how much you give, and I appreciate that. It makes for a great episode here. I learned a lot. I would do this whole conversation if it was just you and I, like Panera Bread.
This is the story of my life. I do it all the time.
It's
Dave,
so interesting.
We've been going for 3 hours.
Yes. This is unbelievable. Go ahead.
Wow.
Then my last question, I'll let you go. You probably don't usually go this long. What is beneath us? And do you know anything about that? Or is it kind of the speculation like the stars and, you know what they're not?
Yeah. So the Great Borehole is the deepest hole ever dug. It's in Russia. And they went down, they made it 7.8 miles. Why? As you were saying, they were using ground penetrating radar to see what they're going to hit next. And it was wrong. Oh, there's no more rocks. There's no more water. There's no more dirt. They hit rocks, water, dirt. Okay. So
yeah.
They were wrong every step of the way. Then at 7.8 miles, they hit an impenetrable barrier, Dave. And they tried for years to all different ways to get through it. And they couldn't. They couldn't at all. Then they dropped a microphone down there for some reason. Right? Dave, I heard this recording once. I'm not, maybe I'm totally being hoaxed, but I heard this thing once. The hair stands up on my arms just talking about it. It is the most horrifying thing you've ever heard. It was like screams from hell. Now, I'm not claiming there's people down there in hell screaming. I'm just saying I heard it and I immediately turned it off and I'll never listen to it again. It literally shook my core. Craziest thing. And after they did that, they sealed off the hole and there no more reports on it. So we don't know anything. So they were wrong every step of the way. Right? I think you could find. I don't recommend people find it, but look it up. It's out there on the internet if you want to hear it.
What's the name of the hole?
It's called the Kola borehole. You search deepest hole on Earth. Kola borehole. Kola borehole. So let's put it in the scale. If the Earth was a Macintosh apple, they drilled partially through that thin skin, and they were wrong every step of the way. But somehow they know what the core is. This is in every high school, every school book. Everyone has this. Everyone's seen it. Molten magnetic core. You can't have a molten magnet. You heat a magnet up, it loses its magnetism before it melts. But somehow we have a molten magnetic core. Somehow they know what all of this stuff is when they couldn't figure out what the skin was. Okay? Somehow they know. This is pure pseudoscience, speculation, brainwashing. Okay? All right? So we don't know what's underneath the Earth. We don't know. All right. I think there's different layers. Maybe that impenetrable layer maybe there's another realm below us. I don't know. Maybe it's just the magnetic limitation of where we can go. We're in this electromagnetic system. We're on this dielectric plane inside a toroidal field. And maybe we just can't break through that because, physically we can't. I don't know.
But we know exactly what Neptune's made of.
Of course. And we know that Dave, I'm not swearing. I'm not making any bad words, but this is a quote from NASA. Uranus smells like farts. That's what they said.
that
was an article.
That's a great middle school line. Right there. I'd like to end with that because when you look at what's in the middle of the Earth and there's this stuff going on with whether the Hadron Collider.
The collider, the particle collider. Again, that's another thing. That's literally them trying to break through realm. That's not what they tell us. And by the way, do you know how many particle colliders there are on Earth? There's hundreds, if not thousands, but we only heard about the one. I think they were here from a previous civilization. Okay. And they're experimenting with them now, trying to figure out what they actually do.
How to make this thing work. Crank it up.
Yeah. Let me just
they don't sell that cord anymore. Dang it.
Quick thing on NASA nonsense. For some reason, they're telling us that every other day there's a new thing about an asteroid the size of 22 tuna fish to fly close to Earth. Okay, right? Then they show us they show us another one, right? Massive asteroid size of 69 American alligators, right? Another one, 18 platypuses flying close to Earth, right? Another one, 787 matzahs. Oh, and it's flying over on Passover. Okay. These are friggin' NASA articles that are going out all the time, right? 90 elephants, right? 48 eggplants. Okay. Dave, what is going on? 23 bonsai dogs?
Well, and they got the shot of those asteroids from somewhere as well.
They're all cartoons, Dave.
Yeah.
You know them.
But I mean, they present it to look the same. I think that's, for me, the space stuff is the biggest, I don't know, light on the dashboard that hello, there's something wrong, and everybody needs to individually look at that. And that's on our regular, Flyover Conservative show. We're looking at news and current events and things each night, and our constant drive is to push people to take personal ownership for the things that they're, you better take personal ownership for your health. You go to your doctor, they may put you, on some kind of treatment. You might not make it out. You better get a second opinion. You better take personal responsibility for your faith. You better take personal responsibility for your finances and what's going on with the dollar, what's happening in the world. You better look at these things yourself. You can't, the world's changing and moving too fast to be on autopilot. And I think what you do here is such a good exercise in helping people to kind of like just stop, take a breath and look around a minute and say, hey, what do I know? What have I heard? And what's the difference between the two? Can you lead us into the Hibbler documentary and where people can find that? And as we wrap up,
I want to talk about that, and then I just want to end with why the lie. Just a moment on why the lie.
Okay,
all right,
that's good.
So everything can be found at flatearthdave.com. Flatearthdave.com. Scroll down, you'll see Hibbler. You'll see Level with Me. It's a trilogy. It's the third part, but I encourage people to watch Level with Me, then watch The Next Level. That's number 2. And then watch Level. That's number 1. And you can find them all. Just click that banner, levelwithmefilm.com, if you want to go direct there. And the video is $5. You own it. You don't rent it. You own it for $5. Please support Sean by renting this or owning this video.
It's high quality work. He's like the Tom McDonald of filmmakers, man. He's like a one-man crew creating this content.
Yeah. People pay their $24 for Netflix, but I'm not spending $5 on something that's awesome, right? And that I own forever. And by the way, if you don't want to spend the $5, wait 30 days. May 22nd, it'll be free on YouTube in standard definition. All right. So he wants people to see this, but he needs, you got to support the guy so he can make more films. I wish everybody that watch it would, would buy it so he can make 2 films a year instead of just 1, on this topic. It's amazing. And you can find everything at flatearthdave.com. That's all you have to remember. Flatearthdave.com. The app, how to book me if you have a show, how to, if you have an issue with the app, there's a support link there. There's all sorts of information. There's a crash course. If you don't have a smartphone or an iPad or a tablet that you can run the app on, I have the crash course right there. Click that. There's no way you can get through the first 3 videos without becoming a full-on non-glober. I won't even call you a flat earther yet. Okay?
That's good.
So, Dave, why the lie? Yeah. Why the lie?
Because thing I hit earlier is like evolution. In my opinion, you can't pitch evolution without it. Yeah. And it drives people further from God and into a godless world where government becomes your God and they can control you. I mean, that's kind of how I'm wrapping my head around it. The why.
Absolutely. You pretty much nailed it. And, it's hard to, I can't even imagine somebody doesn't believe in a creator anymore when I used to be that person. I can't even fathom how it's possible. It's crazy once you really start thinking about this world. But they want you, living paycheck to paycheck. They want you distracted with sports. It's just like, the Romans with the arenas and gladiators. We have our own thing. You work your slave job. They take away, 40% of it, and then they give you 10% back, and you go, oh, thank you, I got a refund. And then people go home and they drink, and then they watch sports, and their team wins, so they got a victory, right? This is how they keep you enslaved. right? They don't want you knowing that your thoughts create your reality. They're using us to create their world. They need us to create their world because maybe they don't have the ability to manifest like we do. Maybe they need people that have working souls to manifest things. So they're trying to control us. But the good news is they can't do it without our permission. They always tell us what they're doing. Okay. They always stick it right in our faces. And then if you're too busy, distracted to understand, then it's your own fault. Everything you have in your life is your fault, good or bad. Nobody is forcing you to do anything. Now, you may think you're coerced. Well, I got to do this. I got to go to work. I got to pay my taxes. I got to do this. I got to do that. That's because you are living in a false reality, right? And then you'll understand. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. We need to survive in this world. We need to use their fake money right now, right? But we need to get off of their map, get off of their fiat money, and take this world back. We need to unplug from the matrix. When you discover that the earth is not a globe and that you're not one of their pawns, you take your power back. People are like, well, I'm only one person. There's nothing I can do. That's wrong. That is absolutely wrong. They can't do anything to you and without your permission, and they trick you into giving your permission. Okay? They trick you into everything. So when you unplug and you network with others, use the app, find other people around you. If you do a radius of 500 people and one person shows up, that's an event. Okay? Because you just met another awesome person. And the two of you are going to become best friends. And that's just the way it is. It happens all the time. So why the lie? Because without the lie, all governments fail. All of them crumble. When flat Earth goes mainstream, there's going to be some, what's the word? Chaos. The world is going to change in so many ways. It's going to be crazy. And there's going to be a lot of craziness. But at the end of that, we're going to live in a new age of reality. And people understand what this world is and understand the true power that they have. They're God-given powers, right? You are given common sense and we've traded it in for nonsense. Okay. And that's the why. People say, why the lie? That's like literally walking into a room. You walk into a room, this is a grisly example, and there's dead people all over the place, blood all over the walls. You don't go, no, I don't believe it. I don't see the motive. I don't see why anybody would kill these people. Look, the evidence is right there. The evidence for flat Earth is right there. There's more evidence than that grisly scene that you just walked in. Okay, there's more evidence. There's so much evidence for flat Earth. It's not even a question anymore. And people go, well, why would they lie? Well, everyone has to be in on it. No, not everyone has to be in on it. 99% of the politicians out there are just puppets. They don't even know.
Right.
But the top ones, they know. They know. And they're using it because they look at us as useless eaters. We're nothing to them. They don't like creation. They want to be gods themselves. And they've already failed. But the longer, that people have their heads in their rear ends, and don't unplug from the system and keep feeding the system. This is a spiritual war that we're in, Dave, a spiritual exchange of energy. And the way to get away with it is that a high percentage of the people don't even believe that a spiritual war is a real thing. They don't believe in it, right? So they're disconnecting us from the creator. They're trying to, right? But there's a lot of people that believe the earth is a globe that have a good relationship with the creator. They're just missing out. They're never going to live to their full potential until you understand what your potential is. If your potential is a globe and my potential is an extended plane, well, I've got more potential. We all have the same. You have to unlock it. So there you go.
I love it. I love this conversation, and I hope Flyover family and whoever's listening, share this with people. Let's make the world a little more interesting. And if people walk away and you're like, I don't believe that doesn't make sense, then just set it down for now. Maybe look at the app, come back and look at some pieces of it, but be able to converse with somebody intelligently, know how fast this is spinning, know what we're doing, know what's talking, be able to speak about this. That's why I walk away from here. Dave didn't shy away from a single question. If you're watching this today and you think, man, I don't know, Flyover conservative, David, I don't know why he would be doing this. Hey, let's schedule one with you to come on here and talk to Dave about it, and see, hey, poke a hole in this thing and I'll help facilitate it. And we can split the 3 Bitcoins if you're right. But
Dave, we barely scratched the surface. There's so much more to it. there's so much more, and we've been researching this as a group collective for the last 8+ years at this point, and it's amazing. It's just we're learning more and more every day, and the more we know, the more we realize that we don't know, because this world is so amazing that here's one thing that Flat Earth does: it cures. It actually eliminates boredom. You will never have a bored second in your life ever. And by the way, you said I've done 10,000 hours of research. I've never done the calculation, but because I listen to audio and video at 2x speed, don't I get double credit for that? Like 10,000 would be 20,000?
I think that would work. Yeah.
I want double credit.
You'd have it. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on Conspiracy Conversations. I love these deep dives. I love to learn, and I think that's what we're here to do. It's a lot better than drugs and video games where they want to keep us. And I also like, Dave, that you're bringing people together, not driving them apart. Everything about your effort and movement is to find commonality. We don't have to agree on everything. You find commonality and say, hey, together, it's us against those who would want to divide us. And I think that's what it's all about. Everything I've heard actually makes me a little more excited about the one who made me and the one who put me here, and makes me want to dig into that connection even more. And I appreciate that side of it as well. Thank you so much,
David. It's so amazing that how many different ways your life changes from this. And if you asked me, 10 years ago, yeah, do you ever think that you'll be on microphone speaking to people about the creator? I'd be like, you don't know who I am. You're an idiot. Right. But, I used to be afraid of public speaking. I used to hate it. I hate it. Now this is what I do for a living. God's got a sense of humor too. It's hysterical. It's hysterical, and every day is a blessing. Last thing, I'm going to leave you. Maybe you've heard this, maybe you haven't, but if you haven't, you're going to love this. Okay. So if you won $1 million cash right now, no taxes, and let's say you were in a bad mood, you had a grumpy morning, but you got $1 million, no strings attached. You're probably going to be in a pretty good mood, right? Because we not that money is the answer to everything. Money gives us a lot of ability to function in this fiat, crazy world. And then if somebody was mean to you, you think you'd be in a bad mood the same day? Probably not. That $1 million is pretty, it's like nothing's going to put me in a bad mood, right?
It would be tough.
It would be tough. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it'd be tough
what if I gave you $10 million, but I said, tomorrow you don't get to wake up. Would you take it?
No, sir.
This is it. This is the end. What? 100 million. Would you take it?
Nope.
No. So when you wake up tomorrow, you should feel like $100 million.
Wow.
Because you wouldn't give in. You traded waking up for $100 million. Wow. So every day when you wake up, you should be like, it's $1 billion day, because there's no amount of money that you would trade in for not waking up. Every day is a gift. That's why they call it the present.
That is really good. I love it. It is. And you can do those breakdowns on your body parts and everything else. It's like, there's so much to be thankful for. There's so much good going on. And you know what? Here's the other thing they want to hide you from. People are pretty darn good too. When you turn off the TV and you get out of your house and you actually talk to real humans, like, we have a lot more in common, than we think. We're not as divided, and there's a lot less hate out there, and people are just kind of looking for answers. And I hope this episode really encourages them. If nothing else, whoever stuck with us through this whole thing, you're going to have a great dinner with your spouse or somebody tonight. You're going to have a great coffee with your buddy next week, because I guarantee you got a lot more interesting stuff to talk about than you did. Wait a minute.
If you listen to this and you're already convinced, okay, please go verify the things that I said. But then when you speak it to your spouse, or to anybody that hasn't heard this, they're going to come at you and you're going to cause a conflict. What you need to do is say, listen, I know this sounds crazy, but this guy's talking about flat Earth. It's interesting. Will you watch this video with me? Can you watch Level with me? Can we watch a movie tonight? I'll make dinner. Okay, just come on over. Yeah. Let's watch this together, right? Or I got this app. Can we just agree to watch the daily video every day and have a 2-minute discussion about it? Short videos during the week, longer ones on the weekend, Okay. Can we just like have a little, we'll call it our book club, our video book club.
Yeah.
And let's just discuss it. I don't want to buy any of it. I want to understand what this guy's talking about. And that's how you have to do it. Because if you come and say, oh my God, the earth is flat, it's not a ball, you're gonna lose friends and family. By the way, I've lost friends and family. Okay. It's crazy. It's crazy, but that's their journey. It's okay. It's okay. Eventually they're gonna come around. Okay. And here's the thing. There's you have people that are together, relationships, and one of them's a flat earther and the other one's a globe believer. Now, the globe believer has 0.1 billion zeros chance of waking that person back up to the globe because it's not going to happen.
Right.
Once you see the lie, you can't. The globe person, being a globe person with a globe person, I mean the flat earth person, being a flat earth person with a globe person relationship, it's doable, but it's difficult. It will have, there's a big thing there. But here's the thing. If the person you're with is intelligent and loves you, they should agree to look at the same things that you looked at, and they will see the light.
At least
right?
watch the videos and laugh at it and find the flaw, you know?
You have a 99% chance of waking them up and bringing them over. They have a 0% chance of bringing you back because you already saw it. It's like going to a magician. Everyone's like, wow, it's amazing. But before we went in, Dave, I told you how he did every trick. You were sitting there like, yeah, that's a good trick. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, you're not going to be blown away.
You can't see it the same.
You can't unsee it.
Yeah.
You can't unsee it.
It is. Dave, thank you so much. Love to have you back again, and I enjoy you very much. You've done the work in private. You've earned the right to share these things in public, and you've thought through your arguments so well. And you're a pleasure. I really enjoyed it very much.
Next time we can do 4 hours.
Are you a blue dot? Those questioning where we live are not just here. They are everywhere. Of course, this info is hidden from you, but the app shows you that no matter where you go, you aren't alone. We are everywhere, and we are growing. Find your tribe today.